I'm a little rusty on it.
I'll hum it for you.
Alrighty, pull this over. Oh, I didn't do the one last thing. How's everybody doing today? How's everybody doing today? There we go. Now we're good. All right. How's everyone doing today? Let's do the intro really quick. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you might be watching this. My name is Josh and welcome to my channel. On here we talk news, politics, and current events. And what is today? I always forget to say what day it is. It is March 20th, 2023. Yeah, stuff's happening. So those of you might have noticed there was a stream earlier today where we went over Trump getting possibly arrested. It might happen, it might not. It seems like he's leveraging his audience and his fans to put like I can't even say political pressure, just put like populist pressure on the DA of Manhattan to not pursue charges and kind of drop it, which is intimidation, which I believe is against the law. But you know, who knows? Do laws really exist for powerful people? But yeah, we went over that. Went over a little bit of Tim Pool, you know, opining over the same issues he was complaining about before when it comes to wokeness and banking and stuff, to which none of it was, all of it was conjecture at best. So I'm thinking for tonight, we're just gonna kind of hang out. I'm thinking we're just gonna kind of hang out and what's it called? Watch a few videos. I didn't really put anything on the list of what we're watching, mainly because we're kind of, it's gonna be a bit of a free flow show today. You know, I don't have any hard topics, and it's the big one we kind of I already kind of covered in the afternoon. So you know, I kind of want to look at the France protest stuff and a few other things. But either way, let's just get into it. To start off, I want to watch a video of what am I thinking of Ben Shapiro, because I guess, you know, while looking for, you know, things to talk about while trying to produce the show, you kind of always see the Hunter Biden stuff as like a topic. I never really look into any of it, mainly because the Hunter Biden stuff is kind of, if I'm being honest, in my opinion, kind of boring. But you know, it seems like they're all rather interested in it. So I kind of want to check in and see if literally anything has changed. I have not a lot of faith that much has developed that's important, but you know, I mean, you never know, I guess. Maybe something big and interesting happened, who knows? But who knows? But either way, let's get into it. Let's just just kind of hanging out today. Anybody who has links, by all means, you know, post stuff in the chat. Like I said, it's gonna be just a free flow day today. So anyway, let's go. Let's get into it, shall we?
Speaking of people who
Goddamn, Ben, you're so fucking loud, dude.
probably should be arrested.
Oh yeah.
More details are now coming out about the Biden family and the payoffs they received from China.
The Biden crime
FBI has been
family.
investigating Hunter Biden for apparently the last 200 years. They launched their investigation into Hunter Biden and his corruption and his drug problems and all that stuff back in like 2018. Again, it's now 2023. So
2018. So what is that, like 5 years? That, you know, depending on the size of the person, that's actually a pretty like normal amount of investigatory time, especially when it's like international investigations and stuff. But
I don't know why it takes the FBI years and years and years to come up with anything, but I mean, we now have some fairly significant details about exactly how the money flowed.
It's called thorough
inside
investigations.
The Biden family. The Biden family has been
You know, it's a really good documentary. This is only kind of tangentially related. There's a documentary, I believe it's on Hulu. It's about the like Mega Millions Monopoly thing, promotion that McDonald's used to run back in, I think it still goes today, but obviously they've like fixed it, because I believe it was like back in the 90s and into the early 2000s, there was like basically like this crime family that was like running and picking winners. It was like actually kind of wild. Like it was completely corrupted. Like the one of the dudes was like able to get get a hold of like the winning tickets or the winning like, pieces or whatever. It was like kind of wild. Like so they would just hand it out to friends and family, and they'd win a couple $1,000 and they get the kickback by being like, all right, cool, you like won, now give me some money since I helped you win. But it was kind of wild, crazy stuff. But it was like a whole like family thing. I think it's might be called McMillions, but I could be wrong. Interesting documentary though, but it took them a really long time to investigate it and finally like arrest somebody and like clear up that whole case. But like, yeah, the FBI takes like everyone. I feel like a lot of times people think like the FBI just show up and like arrest people, or like when they show up to do the whole like we're the FBI, open up, like that sort of, like there's a lot that goes into the day of the arrest or whatever. But anyway, I just wanted to note that.
Capitalizing off the Biden name for a very long time. The only question is whether Joe himself received any money. That really is the only question, because every single other member of his family, his brothers, his kids, they were receiving money off the Biden name from foreign sources. Last week, in a
totally allowed to do that, by the way,
completely ignored by the
it's like crony capitalism.
The House Committee on Oversight and Accountability issued a memorandum revealing new evidence resulting.
You know, I just thought about Ben Shapiro seems to recognize the idea that somebody could make a lot of money and garner a lot of not prestige, but like institutional like accreditation from the like existence from having a certain last name, right? Which to me demonstrates that like whenever Ben Shapiro talks about the meritocracy, understand, like think about this. If you're Ben Shapiro, you always believe, he's always been rather consistent about believing in the meritocracy, right? But like we are looking at an example, everybody in the Biden family, we are looking at an example of people who do not get to the positions that they're in due to merit, or at least like there is an argument to be made that merit is not the only thing that got them to where that is, which I think Ben is right in this case. He is right. Like Hunter Biden didn't get a position at Burisma, I think that was the company, and made whatever salary he made there because of merit. He got that because he's the son of the vice president and now president, right? Now, like, you might say, like, oh, well, but that's only one case. But I ask you, have you not met people who were given their positions because they either are kiss-ups, they knew your boss, or were the CEO's son? We know that the meritocracy is a lie. Like the fact that we all have probably had experiences, and we can point to high-ranking experiences of obvious nepotism, tells me and should communicate to a lot of people, I think, that the meritocracy is a myth. It is a myth. You like by definition, if you believe that we live under a meritocracy, then Hunter Biden should never be able to get these positions, but he doesn't. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't exist. It's not real. Don't get me wrong, it'd be nice. I would love to live under a meritocracy. But unfortunately, we just simply don't. Under the conception right now, we simply do not live in a meritocracy. I don't know how anybody could make the argument otherwise.
From an investigation into the Biden family's influence peddling and business schemes, subpoenaed financial records show that from 2015 to 2017, Biden family members Hunter Biden, James Biden, Haley Biden, and an unknown Biden and their companies collectively received $1.3 million in payments from accounts related to Rob Walker, a Biden family associate. Notably, on March 1st, 2017, less than 2 months after VP Joe Biden left public office, State Energy HK Limited, a Chinese company, wired $3 million to Rob Walker's company. The next day, the company wired $1 million to a company associated with James Giller, another Biden family associate. Afterwards, the Biden family received approximately $1 million in payments over a 3-month period in different bank accounts. From the bank records, it appears the Biden family received approximately 1/3 of the money obtained from the China wire.
So, So what Ben is describing, once again, is not really, like, it's the case where it's like, is this good? No. Is it legal? Probably. People are allowed to send money. Now, granted, there's also laws around how much money you send people. Sorry, I'm like very tentatively trying to edit something really quick. But like at the end of the day, like when we talk about this stuff, it's like, all right, like what's the illegality of any of this? Is there anything illegal to this? Like, is it like shady? Absolutely. But are these also like rich, like power brokers in terms of like, again, the Biden family? Yeah, obviously. I don't think anybody like denies any of this.
And apparently went to Hunter and James and also to Haley Biden. That would be the widow of Beau Biden and the person with whom Hunter Biden then had a sexual affair, and also an unknown Biden. If ever we get the full details Biden? As to how the money flowed, I'd be a little surprised if none of the money ever flowed to Joe, considering he's lived high on the hog for decades at this point.
Well, I mean, It goes to his family, which I'm sure he benefits from. I don't even really think it needs to hit his bank account. I'm pretty sure Joe Biden does all right when his family does all right. Like, that's kind of the like thing, right? It's like familial wealth. Like, we should absolutely be doing more in terms of like curbing this stuff. But like, none of what they're describing is like unique to the Biden. So this is the overall problem. This is the issue I have with this. With not like the existence of any of this nepotism, any of this crony capitalism. The issue I have is that Ben Shapiro and other Republicans tend to be hyper focused on Biden as an example of this, while and they gaslight people into believing that it is a Biden problem. It's not a Biden problem. The issue of corruption, nepotism in our government is not one of Joe Biden and his family. It is one of essentially all government, all of these elected government officials, almost all of them take this kind of money. All of them have these skeletons in their closet, Republican and Democrat. And it's why, like, you can say like, oh, it's a both sides thing. So like, why can't we focus on Biden? Which it's like, that's fine. But like, have you ever heard Ben Shapiro say any of this about Trump? Trump's family certainly did all of this. We already know that they told foreign nationals to stay at the Trump Hotel that was in like DC or whatever, which like obviously it's a private institution. It means Trump would be telling them all to go and like, hey, go stay at my hotel that my family runs and spend some money there. Maybe you'll carry some favor. Like, that's another really obvious point. But like, Ben Shapiro's never thought about that. Ben Shapiro hasn't given that one single thought. And like, to any like conservatives out there or even Republican voters, why is that? Why is it Ben Shapiro has never been interested in the same exact kind of nepotism and self-dealing that Trump engages in, that Biden does? Why is it only interesting when Biden does it? Biden obviously does it. I'm not defending the guy. There's a lot of nepotism in that family. There's a lot of nepotism on all of the Democratic side, but there's also all of that on the Republican side. But shockingly, and everyone's always protecting their own side, but that should kind of tell you that like these guys like Ben are just as dishonest as any MSNBC host.
A government salary. It's pretty impressive. But again, this sort of stuff will be largely ignored, and there will be much attention paid to Hunter Biden suing a laptop repair shop owner citing an invasion of privacy. Now, Hunter Biden has filed a sweeping countersuit, according to the Washington Post, against the computer repair shop owner, who said that Hunter dropped his laptop off and never claimed it. A legal action that escalates the battle over how provocative data and images of the president's son were obtained nearly 4 years ago. Now, I thought that these were fake. I thought it was a Russian plans, right? I mean, I was informed of that back in October of 2020, is that this was definitely a Russian ops thing.
Huh?
Or that fake images were placed on Hunter Biden's computer.
Whoever said that? I don't know anybody who's disputed that the laptop was real. The issue was how the laptop was obtained. That's like the real issue. It's like, because if Hunter Biden sent in his laptop to get actually repaired, right? Like if that was a thing that he actually did, he paid for a service, and then that was handed over to Rudy Giuliani, that's illegal. Like, that is like property theft. I mean, again, I'm sure there's some people, again, keep in mind, I'm sure there's some people, if you believe that there are people on MSNBC, there are hosts that played a lot of defense for Hunter Biden, who played, all the like, oh no, it couldn't, was it a Russian thing, all the rest of these games, right? Again, keep in mind, if you think that in itself is a conspiracy, or you think that those people are being dishonest, why do you not think Ben Shapiro's being dishonest when he doesn't tell you about Trump's nepotism? When he doesn't tell you about any right-wing figures' nepotism, when they engage in the exact same kind of activity? We all remember who was homeboy in the wheelchair who used to be a congressman. I don't remember his name, but is it not shocking to anybody that he got yeeted out of fucking Congress by his own party when he started coming out and revealing secrets about his fellow House representatives? Madison Cawthorn, that's who it was. But yeah, we all remember Madison Cawthorn. Why did nobody say? Why did Madison Cawthorn? Why did he like disappear? Like I don't even hear about him anymore. It's you know, I like question that. Why like is
now
that
we're learning
dissonance
that Hunter
not
Biden is upset that
there?
it was an invasion of privacy. We can't have it both ways. Either it was fake and it's not an invasion of privacy, it's fraud, or
Well, stuff was
it's
okay.
real and it's an invasion of privacy. The answer is it's neither. It's both real and not an invasion of privacy because it turns out that when you, in a cocaine-addled stupor, drop off your laptop at a repair shop and then leave it there for the next 5 years or whatever it was, and then the repair shop owner turns it over to somebody, at a certain point, it's no longer your
Well,
property.
doesn't it kind of depend on who you
If
turn it
leave
over to?
your car in the impound lot for 4 years, it's not going to be there when you get back. In the counterclaim filed on Friday morning in U.S. District Court in Delaware, Biden and his attorneys say John Paul McIsaac had no legal right to copy and distribute private information. Again, now they're admitting that it's all real. They accuse him and others of 6 counts of invasion of privacy, including conspiracy to obtain and distribute the data. The lawsuit could draw further attention to a sordid chapter in Hunter Biden's life. Has there been a non-sordid chapter in Hunter Biden's life that we haven't heard about yet? He is the smartest person that Joe Biden knows. Again, there be demons here. And as the investigation continues, I would.
Is there
again,
really
kind of
nothing?
shocked.
Wait. I'm sorry. I know this is like a small. This isn't a. How long is this segment? 42 minutes, all the way up to 40. I guess it's only 4 minutes, but like, is this it? I was kind of hoping for a little bit more, like a little bit more of a substantive update. This just kind of feels like things they're going to continue to investigate, and we haven't really, like, we don't really. Okay. I feel like this is. I feel like this is one of those. What's the phrase? Missing the forest through the trees sort of situations. It just kind of feels like one of those. But okay. Okay, there was like kind of nothing there. Okay. Well, in that case, shit. If there's like nothing there, I guess. Okay. I considered doing this and then I decided not to. No, let's do Candace. We'll do Candace instead. We'll look to see what she's up to. It's a case where like, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, is doing like Matt Walsh like good for like content? Yeah. Do I like hyper focusing on him? Not really. Just because like, again, piece of shit, human being. So it's kind of just like, I don't want to focus too much. We got to diversify a little bit, but let's see. Dude, everybody has been freaking the fuck out about the Trump stuff. Actually, you know what I'm interested in? Okay, let's go back really quickly. I want to take a look because I find it really interesting the way that that Daily Wire produces content.
Speaking of,
if you notice, they really what Daily Wire has like managed to do, I think like if I'm going to give them credit for anything, it's certainly for the fact that they've done a really good job at diversifying their message and like finding whoa, what the fuck was that? Not finding different angles.
So you can see what the left is
happening.
doing.
What is happening? Stop it. What is going on?
Speaking of people.
Stop. Okay. But what I find like interesting is they've really found a way to like diversify a lot of their content by like basically hiring hosts that like, I don't want to say play different roles, but they essentially like they satisfy a different audience. So like, let's look at Ben. Okay, so with Ben we have Trump being arrested, right? Republicans reacting to it. Rachel Maddow, I'm assuming talking about the exact same topic. CNN reacting to the Trump stuff. We just watched the Biden complaint section. Okay. After that, it's economic stuff. So it's like the bank stuff, probably. Right. Okay. So there's like that, right? So Ben's kind of like, if we're like kind of looking at this, we're looking at Ben for like the party politics, and kind of like wonky economic stuff, right? Then, I don't know why that's on. Okay, then we can flip over to Candace Owens, right? Let's take a look. So, and they all kind of produce like the same show, honestly. Because what is this? Where's the 5 hours ago? Okay, yeah. Okay. So let's take a look. Candace's topics today were Trump being arrested. Let's see. Oh, we got Iraq. Okay, different topic. We got Iraq. Okay. What the hell is this? Okay, more war stuff, I guess. I guess that's more war stuff. Yeah, it seems like New York's Met Opera ordered to pay Russia opera star Anna Netrebko over 200K for canceling 13 performances when she refused to denounce Putin over Ukraine. Okay. Right, Dylan Mulvaney, and then like Candace reading her comments, which I think Ben has like the like casual segment at the end, right? But it's like, all right, everyone's got to lead with the Trump story, and then what's it called? And then like Candace does like an anti-war thing, which it seems like it seems like that kind of rolls into the Ukraine like Russia stuff. Which and you know, into the Dylan Mulvaney stuff, which it seems pretty short, but that's like the usual anti-trans stuff. And like, if you ask me, like, okay, what role is like Candace filling at Daily Wire? Candace seems to be filling kind of this like I don't want to say it's not like fake leftist. I think it's like so you know how people tend to essentialize like left sentiment or like left-leaning politics to black people. So it's like a thing, right? Like, you know, black people vote Democrat more often. So you extrapolate that kind of in a way of like, okay, well, if you are a African American voter in this country, most people assume you vote Democrat, which means you hold, you're probably pro-Ukraine, probably, I would assume. You're probably somewhere along the lines of like pro-socialized healthcare. Excuse me. But I think also like that's kind of the part of the anti-war stuff where Candace comes in, because I find that like Candace tends to take like what you would expect a like black Democratic voter like stance to take. She tends to kind of take the opposite, to be like the black conservative fighting against the tide of the rest of black culture, because that's kind of what she spends a lot of her time on. Obviously the transphobia stuff is rather like rather across the board, but like if I'm like here, let me see if I can like see if I can find it. Yeah, if I'm like if we're talking about the roles that everyone's playing, or I guess not even the roles, I should say, maybe that's not what it is. It's really more like the avenue in which they're attacking. Because you see, like Ben Shapiro's whole thing, right? Ben Shapiro's gimmick is being wonky nerd, but for the right wing, which means like his counter, like in a not marketing, but in a like I don't even know if you'd say marketing. It's like in a messaging war, right? Like you have your wonky your buttoned up, bow tie, has a degree, in whatever the fuck, some kind of math or some shit like that. You have your kind of like, holy shit. Okay. God damn, I keep fucking yawning. But you have your like nerdy kind of leftist guy who's like read all the books and I read the studies, right? And they're like aware of like all the studies that validate like left positions, right? And you have Ben there to be like, actually, nerd, I'm the real nerd, I'm the real geek, I'm the real like loser guy who's gonna tell you about facts and logic. So you have that guy, right? Like that's kind of the opponent that Ben like stacks up to. It's like in superhero comics when they have like the team of like all these different kind of heroes, and then they have the evil version of every one of those. When it's Candace, it's like, all right, like I'm the whatever position most black Americans probably could take, or like most people assume probably take, I'm gonna stake out ground on the opposing side of that. It's why she's like pro-Russia in a way that's like, she can obviously kind of what's the word, like kind of lie about that, or obfuscate a little bit by making it about the Met Gala and like a bunch of other stuff. And it's same with like, you know, most Americans were anti-war. Most black Americans were also pretty anti-war when it came to the Iraq war. But, you know, like, you know, Candace has to like kind of pretend to, you know, to relate in that way, but then use that to legitimize her, like, you know, her pro-Russia talking points. But either way, okay, so let's look at Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh is kind of, we're not gonna watch Matt Walsh, right? Okay, we're not watching Matt Walsh today. Matt Walsh, on the other hand, we have, all right, let's see, opening. Oh God, when does he? Okay, so we got. So from Matt Walsh, we have the NHL, right? So you got like sports guys, right? Like sports adjacent people. We have, what is this? Conservative worry about niceness while Dems throw the political opponents in jail. I cannot tell you. I do not remember the last time that Republicans cared about niceness. Republicans have generally never cared about niceness. But yeah, we got to talk about Trump going to jail. Then we got drag queens. We got, you know, the usual anti-drag queen stuff. What is this? I don't even know what this is. What is this?
Ceremony is scheduled for Monday, March 20th, and will take place at Pioneer Courthouse Square, a busy downtown Portland gathering place. Those who choose to attend are required to wear N95 masks. Its mask mandate for healthcare settings. All right, here's a interesting story from the Post Millennial. It says, on Saturday, a far-left radical group called Mask Block PDX announced via Twitter that it would be hosting a funeral to mourn the death of public health following news that Oregon was.
Oh, okay. So that's like, okay. So not really all that interesting, to be honest. Okay. So yeah, like, like this would probably roll into the realm of like anti, I don't know if I want to say leftist. It's like anti-liberal, like, politics, right? Like it's anti-liberalism. So you have like, you know, people demonstrating, which is, you know, kind of their right within the First Amendment. You know, you have the right to assembly, even if you think it's for a stupid reason, they have the right, and doesn't really seem like they're harming anybody, so that's fine. Something Jazz Jennings says he doesn't feel. Let's see, what is this?
All right, one other quick thing. So after, this is from Breitbart. It says, after 8 seasons, 4 sex change surgeries, quote unquote, and countless hormone treatments, TLC's I Am Jazz star Jazz Jennings still doesn't feel right. I don't feel like me ever, Jennings.
Okay, so more anti-trans stuff. And then whoever the fuck John Hamasaki is. What is this?
That this was something.
Okay, I don't care. I don't care. These are like the freebie ones. But yeah, like if we want to talk about like, you know, what is Matt Walsh like? You know, who is Matt Walsh like appealing to, right? Like what's the mirror opposite or the group that he's trying to appeal to? And this one's kind of obvious. So Ben's like wonky nerds on the internet. Candace is, you know, let's appeal to as many black people as we can. Nothing wrong with that necessarily, but you know, Candace kind of just doesn't really have different politics. She just says the same thing and uses her identity as like a legitimizing factor. Matt Walsh is obviously the like stereotypical like man's man. So these are going to be like kind of your sports interested, like ultra masculine, or at the very least like very invested in their masculinity type of you know, male figure. Like these are going to be the guys who are like, oh man, like, you know, it's I'm all about being a real. These are like the real men, right? These are those guys. They're into sports. They have beards. They wear flannel. You know, they don't understand these people who protest. I don't get it. They, you know, that's like his kind of appeal. Is like meatheads basically, right? Then we have Michael Knowles, who. You know, we have like what, 2 more? I think there's like 2 more on like the Daily Wire grift. Then we got 2 more. Let's see, where's the one for the day? Okay, here we go. Then we got 2. So we got Michael Knowles, who is very different. He's not a man's man. He's not a like bearded, flannel wearing, deep voice man, right? He is every like suburban dad, right? Like that's kind of his angle, is the suburban, not tough, kind of emasculated by like the structure of their life, man, it's the man who's frustrated with their like boring 9 to 5, with their boring commute, with their family that they don't really understand, their neighbors who they're not interested in. This is like, they go to church every Sunday because that's what they did for their entire lives growing up. But like when they look at themselves, they look at the strong family that their parents their parents built. They look at the strong masculine figures that their fathers were for them, and they see lacking. That's who I think Michael Knowles really like communicates to. That is who he's talking to. That like small, weak, like, like kind of an asshole, but like this like unintimidating, like just little manlet. Like that's kind of what I see when he serves a lot of that role. So let's take a look here. We got I'm going to assume, I don't know what this is. What is this?
I've been thinking a lot lately about how lucky we are to live in the land of the free as opposed to an autocratic country like Russia or China.
Oh my God, I just remembered we
Russia,
never watched The Secret.
The press isn't free.
Night.
Instead, it serves the interests of the regime, on whose behalf it spreads lies and propaganda. Can you imagine? Even worse is Communist China. In Communist China, citizens are under constant surveillance. The government knows pretty much every single move they make, regardless of any nominal rights to privacy. In Russia and China, citizens don't have a practical right to free speech. Even if they have such a right in theory, if they ever contradict the prevailing orthodoxy of the regime, they can be censored and kicked out of the public square. In those kinds of countries, agents of the state even deny parents' right to raise their own children. Law enforcement persecutes people for their traditional religious beliefs. And most brazenly of all, evil autocrats like Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin jail their political opponents. Thank goodness we don't live in a country like that.
All right. Anyway, okay. So I wanted to find this because we never ended up watching it, and we're gonna watch it after this because why the fuck not? Why not? Okay. So like again. This is okay. So this is like the usual. We're under attack. Whatever. I was just kind of curious what that was. But all right, let's get into the real topics. We got Trump. Let's see. Should have read. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So we got Trump. We have. A GOP governor should arrest a prominent criminal lib. Now tell me if this doesn't sound like your local HOA, like, mom getting all up in arms and talking about people need to be arrested for things that probably aren't crimes, right? But House Oversight Committee, more, okay, complaining about Biden, complaining that Trump, that YouTube restored, complaining about getting your way, right? Like tell me this, like keep in mind when I say like suburban dad, it's like complaining that Trump might be arrested, complaining that somebody else isn't arrested, complaining that you got your way with YouTube, that they reinstated Trump's YouTube channel. Let's see, complaining about what's the word? Complaining about nepotism and corruption in government that almost all government officials, especially in 2023, participate in, but hyper focusing on one's political opponent. Let's see, more complaining about Trump. Let's see, Trump is good. Here we go, some anti-trans stuff because you got to be concerned about other people's healthcare. You got to be in other people's business. And what is this? Richard Levin, no regrets on transitioning when young because now has children. Okay, whatever. And more anti-trans stuff. And then Metro PCS shooting. And then a shooting, I guess. So like when we talk about like what avenue Michael Knowles is like engaging in or which one he's like targeting, it's rather obvious that he's going for like this like upset but doesn't know what they're upset about dad in the suburbs who again like if you've ever seen the movie Nobody with Bob Odenkirk, like it feels like he's talking to like that character, but like the version of that character that you think they are in the beginning of the movie, not when you come to realize that he's an ass-kicking assassin. Like that's like who I think Michael Knowles really like hones in on as a group. The suburban Sunday attending dad who works a 9 to 5 in a boring office job. But speaking of boring, something that we didn't look at last week, we didn't get to it, but something that might be interesting is this little film here. I've seen the clip of this, but called House of Shades. It's a short film by some students. Let's I've been told to kind of, I'm sure a lot of us saw a lot of this, making the rounds on YouTube and everything else, and it's just kind of an interesting angle to take. Keep in mind, Michael Knowles, markets himself as this, what's the word I'm looking for? This like, a devout Christian, like pure fatherly type figure, right? Like this pure suburban father figure. Meanwhile, when he was in college, he was making short films where he himself plays gay men, engages in gay sex. Quite frankly, like, earlier in the afternoon, Tim Pool was complaining about The Last of Us TV show's 3rd episode because of the prominence of the gay sex, to which I don't think I need to tell anybody, you didn't see any dick. So I don't know what they were complaining about. But like, rather noticeable that Tim Pool didn't catch this, which later we'll see when I click to it, has a pretty, equal amount of conjecture in terms of the gay sex that's going on in the room that's being filmed at the moment. So like, keep that in mind.
Yes, Heather?
I'm wondering if I could speak to you about Students for Light and Truth.
Sure, please come in.
I'm fine here, thank you.
What is happening with the soundtrack also?
Well,
I'll just wait for you to get dressed.
I'm wearing a towel.
Yeah, here we go.
I got one.
Yeah?
I can get into every single residence hall on campus.
No. Where'd you learn that?
It's a long story.
Okay, I have one more. I never drank before tonight.
Oh,
What a loser.
really?
Yeah, I mean, not that much. I had like a beer every once in a while, once.
What is going on with the act? Oh my god, what is going on with the acting?
Inhibition is so unbecoming.
I know, right? But
So
it's not that
unbecoming.
simple. You just gotta do what you think is
How many
right.
views does this have now? Now that it's been like, everyone watched it. 31 subs, Jesus. I have more subs than this. 19,000 views though, hey, nothing wrong, nothing to sneeze at.
Come on.
Again, this is the guy who quotes scripture. This is the guy who does the whole, devout Christian thing. And again, let me be clear. If Michael Knowles likes to be an actor, totally fine. I don't think that's any kind of hypocrisy on his part to be a Christian and like acting as characters. But what is a bit sussy is his like sudden obsession and sudden like militant attitude towards the LGBT community, while simultaneously having this in his skeleton in his closet. The skeleton in his closet.
You afraid to go inside?
It's not that.
I can leave.
Do you think he told them about this? Dude, my dude.
Thanks. Have you not done it with many?
Mind if we don't get into that?
Oh yeah, sure.
Look at this, like, oh my god,
What is it?
like,
Can I
I get a towel?
This is the guy who's like, we can't let the gays and like, dude, like, come on, you wanted to be an actor. Like that's also everyone's like thing, is they're like, you wanted to be an actor back in the day, but you couldn't hack it, and now you're like, well, I guess I'll just be a transphobe or whatever, and a homophobe, and pretend to be like, you know, this devout guy, even though, like, you know, when I was in college or whatever, I was perfectly fine with doing all this. And interesting that he never, you know, he didn't tell anybody. He didn't, you know, like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure maybe he told Daily Wire. I don't know, but like,
My number? Yeah, sure.
somebody should have asked Michael Knowles to do some analysis of the Last of Us thing, of the Last of Us episode 3 show. Maybe he would have some insight into the characters' motivations, you know, because like all of them all characterized as like, oh, the characters aren't gay until like the second they need to be, even though it's like, well, that's not true. But like, you know, Michael Knowles would know something about that, since, you know, ostensibly in this, you know, this guy wasn't gay, or we weren't sure. Oh man. I mean, you know, I mean, these guys are kind of bulletproof from, you know, shame or any of that stuff, because they don't really have principles or anything. But that's that guy. Let's not forget that. That's that guy. And then, lastly, the final, you know, like the what were they from fucking Sly Cooper? Like the
Welcome back.
What was it from Sly Cooper? Now I don't remember. Where is it? Let's see. I never remember what the villain squad is called. Oh, the Claw Gang. Yeah, like the members of the Claw Gang. That's right, they're a gang. Right. Like members of the Claw Gang. Let's look at the last and youngest one. Let's see. 4 days ago, 3 days ago. Does she not have a like? Does she not do the 32 hours ago? Okay, so we don't have an equivalent. Oh, well, no. I know she. Does she only do the short segments, or she just streams? It might just be streaming. 2 weeks ago, 7 months ago. God, what is the content output on this channel? Now I'm like even more confused. Most of them all do at least like one. Okay, but either way, I don't need any of that, because at the end of the day, I was going to say Brett Cooper as a content creator is the one who serves kind of the fifth rail, if you will. You know, packaging conservative ideology, conservative talking points to you know, to the younger kind of Zoomer audience who wants to watch Let's Plays, who wants to watch streamers, who wants to like kind of feel like they're engaging with the normal like media that everybody else is. Cause like a lot of people might be watching like Moist Critical. They might be watching, you know, Dr. Disrespect. They might be watching any of these streamers who do like, you know, regular gaming content, you know, Mr. Beast Plays. I don't fucking know. I don't watch a lot of that stuff. Markiplier, sure, even though he doesn't do streams. But what's it called? Like the role that Brett Cooper seems to like play is to kind of play to that audience, but do it while like spoon feeding, or at the very least, you know, kind of like injecting that like right wing, you know, politics into as many topics as they can. You know, it's why it's like, oh, let's play Hogwarts Legacy, but you can almost guarantee if I click on this, the first thing she's going to mention is going to be, you know, she's going to want to mention like, oh yeah, this game has, you know, this game is controversial, instead of just playing it because they want to play it, you know.
Off the clock. This is the video that you guys have been asking
And it's also why she has like the like
it took us this long to put
the
together.
quintessential streamer setup, and everybody else has like a desk and like, you know, broadcast setting.
I'm very excited to play this. I'm glad we got it all set up. I am using one of my team members' accounts. I don't know how it works, but I'm grateful that they understand video games. I've got the Xbox. I'm gonna play Hogwarts Legacy.
Do you not play video games?
A lot of sensitive they/thems in the process.
See, within what, 37 seconds, that's all it took before like it became like we need to continue to forward, you know, the message of of you know, like if you want to play the Hogwarts game, I really don't care. I think you can play it and be fine. But like, Brett Cooper is only engaging with Hogwarts Legacy specifically to stick it to the LGBT community. That's the only reason. It's the only reason. And like, you know, if you're like if you're like a conservative and you're on the younger side, you probably, you know, you want to watch gaming content, but like, you know, you don't want to watch any of the woke streamers. So like, you know, Daily Wire's here to be like, hey, do you like video game streams and e-girls telling, playing video games? We have that, but she'll also advocate for being a trad wife, along with all of our other conservative positions. But yeah, you know, it's just interesting. You kind of look into like the way they structure things, and I think the left really could benefit, I think, from this kind of what's the word, diversity of tactics. I think we tend, as a political bloc, and again, when I say left, I mean left of left of like, certainly left of where most Democratic voters are. I'm doing well. How are you? But like, when I say like left block, like that's what I kind of mean. I mean, like, definitely left of probably normie Democrats. But we tend to focus a lot on, what's the word? On like really academically, like researched, accurate, and like very, I think, educational content and educational resources. And I like, while I think all of those things are good, I do think that we lack this ability to kind of promote our political policies, our political agenda in a way that's a little bit more casual. Like, you can be a casual conservative who just, because conservatism, Republican content creators, guys like that, guys like the Daily Wire and all of them, they do like we're just normal Americans. Whereas a lot of leftists kind of, frame themselves as like educators or very well educated or like super smart. And I do think there's like a space that we need to create for ourselves, for regular people. Like, it's just something I think we really need to practice a little bit better, be more approachable, be more down to earth, maybe. Speak about something, practice my English too. What did you want to talk about? What's on your mind? That being said, I want to look at what's it called? I want to look at France, because France is going through like a moment right now, and I certainly love to see good protests. So let's take a look real quick.
French President Emmanuel Macron's government invoked a special provision of France's constitution on Thursday to bypass Parliament in a bid to push through its controversial pension reform.
We cannot bet on if this reform is necessary. Oh my god.
The move received a frosty reception in Parliament, with lawmakers singing the national anthem. The use of Article 49 of the
Protests, hell yeah. We need to protest more in America. We don't protest enough.
Which proposes raising the retirement age. It comes after public sector workers have walked off the job in droves, culminating in piles of trash building up around the French
Jesus.
I'm in Paris with
Where are you from?
A view of the iconic Eiffel Tower. But here's a scene that offers a less romantic vision of the city.
The country. Oh, interesting. That's cool. I don't actually think I even know where George is, the country.
The garbage has not been picked up in Paris for over a week. This is in response to the unpopular government pension overhaul that has been proposed by French President.
Country in the Caucasus. Interesting. Is there a map I can look at?
Overhauling the pension system. He wants to raise the legal retirement age by 2 years to 64 and make people work longer before they can touch their pension.
Jesus.
Unions are unhappy with
not
the legislation.
State.
Millions of workers have gone on strike since January, when the current bill was first presented to Parliament.
Thank you.
Teachers, train drivers,
George is the
family
country.
staff from across the country are among those who have joined the strikes.
Interesting.
Recent
Oh.
polls showed nearly 70% of people oppose the reforms. But Macron says
Jeez.
the changes are needed to protect
67%.
France's pension
Wow.
system from collapse and to maintain control of government expenditure. He has pledged to boost military spending and wants to bring the national deficit back in line with the European Union's targets.
Wait, what? Wait. He wants to boost the military budget for fucking what? The fuck is he boosting the military budget for?
He has
Go back.
pledged to boost military spending and wants to bring the national deficit back in line with the European Union's targets.
What the fuck would that even
France has
do?
one of the lowest rates of retirees at risk of poverty in Europe, but this comes at a cost. France spends close to 15% of its economic output on
Cool.
pensions. That's almost double what the US spends.
Okay. Wait. Okay. So this is my problem with these. You can look at these and be like, oh yeah, look how much they're spending. They're spending twice as much that we are on pensions that we do in the United States. Meanwhile, like a French citizen has by fucking leaps and bounds a higher quality of retirement than a lot of Americans. Most Americans still have to fucking work, not by choice. Like my mom works because she kind of feels like it, but that's because she's bored. But most Americans, a lot of Americans don't even get to do that. A lot of them work because housing costs have gone up so much, along with every other expense, and we don't do a cost of living adjustment for them. So it's why you see a lot of older people who work in Walmart as fucking greeters, because they can't they have to work. They never actually get to retire. The whole point of having a pension and having a retirement age is so that people can enjoy their twilight years, can have actually spent probably 30 to 40 years working, creating value for companies, contributing to the economy, contributing to society. And then they get to spend the rest of their time after that living out the rest of their days in leisure. That's kind of the idea. We figured out a wonderful and positive way to cap off somebody's role in society. And as we've developed, we've worked a lot, in at least in the US, we've worked to take that away from more people. And even then, we only developed this in the 30s. This is not something that's been around for super long. It's but it's something that certain politicians of a certain stripe have been consistently trying to dismantle and take away from people. It's literally a solution. We found the solution to what do we do with the old people. We let them live and enjoy their lives and have them just pay into the system by buying shit and everything else. And I hate to see that shit. It's fucking stupid. You can say oh, they spend twice as much. But I'm look what they're getting out of that. They're getting so much out of spending twice as much. They have the lowest rate of senior poverty and everything. That's good. I do not want them to be at our level. But of course you have this fucking neo-lib like Macron, who's well, we need to get things in, we need to tighten our belts, even though we're going to increase the military budget, which makes utterly no sense. What are you getting out of that? France is in a war right now.
The country's pension system is expected to run a deficit of 1.8 billion euros in 2023. That's set to keep increasing to 21.2 billion euros.
Cool, fucking tax the rich.
As the population ages, the number of workers who fund each pension check is shrinking. The government has ruled out raising taxes to shore up deficit, saying that
God for fucking bid.
Taxes in France are already high.
Fucking tax the rich more. See, this is always the thing. It's like you don't have to just tax working people. Sorry, Yananox. I am from Virginia, technically, in the United States. I mean, originally I'm from Paraguay in South America, but I was adopted and came to America, so I'm pretty American. But anyway, it's always when it's not an option. God forbid you've just fucking taxed the wealthiest in your society. God for fucking bid.
Français n'emporte pas l'adhésion d'une majorité de Français. Mais nous sommes convaincus que les alternatives, augmenter les impôts,
alternatives, raising taxes, increasing the debt, lowering the pension of retirees.
n'emporteraient pas davantage l'adhésion de l'opinion.
This isn't the first time Macron tried to overhaul France's pension system. In 2019, he proposed to streamline France's 42 different state pension plans, which vary in retirement age and income, into one universal system. He also wanted to introduce bonuses and penalties to encourage people to work until the age of 64.
Jesus.
This led to strikes across the transportation system.
I mean, at the end of the day, I like how many people have come out for this, because at the end of the day, this is them telling their government, nah, dog, I'm not taking this hit. You go and find somebody else, which should be, I think, like, you know, when it comes down to it, this sort of like raise in the pension age is going to negatively affect an incredibly large portion of France's population, whereas raising taxes on a specific sector, or at the very least a specific you know, wealth threshold, would only hurt like a minuscule amount of people in a way that they won't even really notice. So like, you know, it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, like, tax the ultra wealthy in your country a little bit more. Then, like, what are they gonna do? What are they gonna do? Fucking, even if they move, be like, all right, go ahead. You want to take your money out of the country, then we'll like tax you further. But like, the society has already decided, like, no, we're not doing this. Like we're not fronting the cost of this.
The country for weeks before the government shelved its plans as the COVID-19 pandemic.
Red alert, what's happening?
But some economists say the proposed changes won't keep the system afloat for long.
Why red alert?
Many see the fight over pension as the last stand in defense of France's social welfare model.
J'y vois une régression des droits sociaux, assortie d'une procédure politique qui est épouvantablement antidémocratique, et voilà, je proteste.
Also, they just pushed this through against the will of the people, which also doesn't look great.
But the government struggled to cobble together enough votes for it to pass through the lower house of parliament, the National Assembly.
The National Assembly.
Macron's move comes at a high political cost. Protesters in opposition parties that have painted Macron as an authoritarian now have more ammunition to mobilize the masses. Demonstrators took to the streets after Article 49.
I don't know if it's Marxist. That's probably
a number of parties.
If you asked any of these people about Marx, they probably wouldn't actually be able to answer that. But it is certainly a protest against, at the very least, it's a protest that I think, honestly, I would argue this sort of protest, and like the concern over workers and retirees' rights, I think is rather universal. Let's take a look. I want to look at something. Yeah, I'm sure. Might not be suitable. Okay, yeah, naturally. Turn that the fuck down.
Fiery clashes between police and protesters in Paris last night. Demonstrators burned cars and garbage, furious over France's widely unpopular pension overhaul. The outrage reaching a boiling point after President Emmanuel Macron resorted to special constitutional powers after he didn't have enough votes to pass a bill raising the retirement age from 62 to 64. Macron has argued the change is necessary to keep France's pension.
Well, the thing with Marx, so this is the thing with Marx. I've never read like I haven't read Marx like I haven't read Capital or like any of Marx's theory, and I kind of don't. I like part of me does and part of me doesn't want to read it, because like I find that there are people who treat texts like that as like dogma, right? Like some people swear by like everything Marx wrote, and I don't necessarily really think that that's the right way to view like political theory, especially like when we know that like Marx wrote, all of Marx's writings are from a very different time and from a very different like world, that like in terms of the way things are organized in society in 2023 compared to when Marx was writing Capital or any of those writings. So it's kind of like, when it comes to Marx, like what is the Soviet Union, China? So okay, so here's the problem with the Soviet Union and China. Neither the Soviet Union nor China at this point, certainly the Soviet Union wasn't really communist to a degree. There's an argument to say that it never was communist, mainly because of the state capital approach that they took, but also for the fact that there wasn't worker control of the means of production. It was state control of the means of production, which isn't the same thing. Same with China. Like China's China is, as far as I understand it, like like Maoist at best. But even then, like what's it called? Even then, I don't really know if I'd call China Marxist, since they're also state capitalists. Like, again, there's no worker owned means of production, which is the pretty much the like litmus test, at least in my opinion, to Marxism socialism. Like, if we're talking about true and authentic Marxist socialism, then there needs to be that worker control of the means of production. If not, I don't really think it's the same necessarily. It's necessarily the same thing. From a like
but since the start of the year, the
ideological
proposal spurred
standpoint.
nationwide protests and multiple major strikes.
Paris. Bro, we need to do more of this in America. Jesus, man. Like I think they're all, from what I heard also, there's like laws in France, like the cops cannot just shoot you if you pose a threat. So like there's also a little more of like an even playing field between protesters and police, which I absolutely support. We like, certainly the police, like there's a certain amount of like keeping the peace, but you also have to balance that with like, police also have their own motivations and have their own interests in what they believe is like the peace. I mean, at the end of the day, they got fucking riot shields and everything else. It's not like they're certainly not at a disadvantage here. Maybe by numbers at best, but even then, I don't really think that's... Man, holy shit. I'm assuming that's like tear gas possibly, or just like maybe a smoke grenade. Okay, that was kind of a French throw right there. Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, these guys are like in place to reinforce the order that the government, who just undemocratically took pensions away from people, implemented. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, that's kind of what the this is what happens when you go against the people. You know, there's always the what was that shit from V for Vendetta? A government should be afraid of its people. The people should not be afraid of its government. Absolutely, protesters have more rights. In America, in some states, you can run over protesters with no liability. I think they passed that law in like one of the Dakotas, maybe, and like in Florida. But yeah, good for them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what protests should be. Protests are not meant to be convenient. They should be incredibly inconvenient to the society. It's not a protest if it's not. It's just kind of you organizing a little bit. You know, it needs to apply, like protests need to apply pressure. But anyway, oh, I saw this video. So I saw this when I was offline, and I was just kind of like, I'll watch this on stream. This seems fun. It's a video about the failed constitutional amendments here in the U.S. And some of these I was familiar with, and I clicked through a little bit. Some of them I was familiar with, and some of them I was not. Very interesting. Yeah, you guys get to fight the cops, and like the cops don't just get to shoot you with like no second thought. I can respect that. It's pretty base, quite frankly. Anyway.
America decides it wants to change its constitution.
Jesus Christ, that's
However,
loud.
passing an amendment is very difficult,
It
as
is.
was intended by the Founding Fathers. 2/3 of the House of Representatives and 2/3 of the Senate must support an amendment.
Which, like, fucking
after
never
which
happens.
3/4 of the states must ratify the amendment for it to be officially adopted. Alternatively, amendments can be ratified if 2/3 of the states call for an Article 5 convention, named after the section of the Constitution that says how to amend it, and 3/4 of the states ratify an amendment from the convention, though this method has never been used successfully.
Yeah, it's a pretty. It's a pretty hard sell.
The strict
Or not
requirements
hard
for
sell, but
amending
it's
the
a,
Constitution
it is
ensure
kind of
that
tough.
very few proposals are ever ratified. Ever since the Constitution itself was ratified in 1788, there have been around 12,000 proposed amendments, but boringly, just 27 of them have been adopted. So what were those failed amendments, and why were they unsuccessful? Perhaps the most successful unsuccessful amendment was the
The
Equal
most
Rights
successful.
Amendment.
Yeah,
which
this is
guaranteed
yeah.
legal
Yep,
equality
yep,
regardless of sex.
Yep. Yep.
After first being proposed in 1971, the ERA was supported by multiple presidents and both the Democratic and Republican parties, and it was passed by Congress by a wide margin in 1972. However, only 35 of the necessary 38 states ratified it within the
Let's see, what do we got? So we got Alaska, Montana. Fuck, I'm off of what states. Colorado. Oh man. We got Maine. Okay, so let's go from east since I lived on the East Coast. So we got Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Rhode Island. Why am I so stupid? New York, Michigan, Montana. Is that Montana up there? I think that's Montana. Montana, that's, I'm gonna assume, no, that's Delaware down there. That's Maryland. Oh my god, is my state one of the fucking states? I bet it isn't. Yeah, it's not. Fucking A. Yeah, Pennsylvania. I don't know what the fuck this tiny offshoot is. What is this? Oh, no, that's Connecticut. That's Rhode Island. Okay, Connecticut, Rhode Island. That's Tennessee. Yeah, Tennessee. That's probably one of the Carolinas. Texas. God. Oh, there's Wisconsin. Okay, cool. Wisconsin. Maybe North Dakota, South Dakota. Indiana, I think, or maybe that's Iowa. That might be Iowa. Let's see what else we got. Nevada, Oregon, Washington. Okay. Kansas, Hawaii, California, Texas. Yeah, there's
7-year time frame.
love that I
allotted by
come from a
Congress,
state that never
killing
ratified
the
that.
ERA. Considering everything it had going for it, how did the ERA not pass?
This is some
Anti-feminists, led by conservative activist Phyllis Schlafly, mobilized against the amendment because it would have destroyed traditional gender
You went to
roles
Kiev? What was
by
that
ending
like?
women's
Was that like
exclusion
before or
from
after the
draft,
war? Had
eliminating
begun.
women's preferable status in alimony and child custody cases, and removing protections for working women. They successfully swayed public opinion against the ERA in enough states to prevent its passage, and the election of ERA opponent Ronald Reagan in 1980
Of fucking
solidified
course.
the public's opposition.
Of
Interest
fucking
in the
course.
ERA was revived during the 2010s.
Imagine being Ronald Reagan and taking a fucking L to Nixon on like positive political policy.
Culminating in 3 more states ratifying the amendment.
What is that? Wait, that's Nevada? What was that other one? Oh, that other one's probably New Mexico. Okay, okay, we finally did it in Virginia. I don't actually know what this one is.
However,
What is
since
that
6
one?
states had
Lovely
also
place,
witdrawn
very
their
friendly
support,
people.
and
That's
since
great.
the 3 states ratified the
My
amendment
heart goes out
after the
to
timeframe established
Ukraine.
by Congress, the Equal
I
Rights
hope
Amendment will be
they're
remembered by
able to
history
keep
as
Russia
a
out
failure.
and outweight them basically.
The most recent amendment to be passed by Congress was the District of Columbia Voting Rights Amendment. proposed
Yes,
in
yeah,
1978.
DC statehood.
Had it been ratified, the amendment would have
78?
basically turned
Jesus.
Washington, D.C. into a state without
Woo.
officially granting it statehood by giving it representation in Congress, full participation in presidential elections, and the ability to ratify amendments.
Which is kind of crazy because like the idea, like, I mean, obviously people in DC get to vote, but I don't know what they vote under. Like, I guess they like, I would assume they vote with like overseas like veterans, I guess. Like that's who they kind of vote with, I would presume. Like that's the pool they get put in, because they like, it's not, they don't run a state race in DC, because like the way our elections run is it's 50 individual state races, federal races in each state. But for DC, I'm not actually really sure how that works out. I mean,
However, the amendment was
like it
only
doesn't have
ratified by
delegates
16
also,
states
so
because it was opposed
or
by many
electorates.
conservatives,
Sorry,
probably because DC would have almost certainly
or
elected
electors.
a
I
bunch
always
of
forget what the
progressive
number.
Democrats to Congress.
Electoral college
Like
votes.
the
That's what it
ERA,
is.
Congress gave the DC Voting Rights Amendment a certain amount of time to be ratified, and when this time ran out in 1985, it officially became a failure. Even though the amendment died back in the 80s, its legacy has survived into the present in the form of the District of Columbia statehood movement,
that sucks.
which, shockingly, advocates turning DC into a state outright.
I've seen a few. If you know who Dylan Burns is, he went over to Ukraine, I think, late last year and did a bunch of documentary footage. Really interesting stuff.
Although the DC Voting Rights Amendment was the
It's
last
completely
amendment to be
fucked
passed
everything
by
that's happened
Congress,
over there.
a few others have come close, such as the Balanced Budget Amendment, which would prevent Congress from spending more money than the government makes in income. There have been many attempts to pass.
Oh, by the way, this would like destroy our ability to run the country, because the thing is, like, the United States, because we don't like run at a balanced budget, because of that, like, we're able to like if they pass this, right, if they had passed the balanced budget amendment, however long ago, I don't think our growth would have been nearly as strong as I think it has been, mainly because we're the global currency. We have a lot of security around like, the money, our economic system. It allows us to spend a lot more on credit than we normally would as like a country. So like, the balanced budget amendment would really, I think would really fuck our economy.
As a balanced budget amendment, like in 1982 under President Ronald Reagan. Remember him from earlier?
God damn, dude.
But the most successful attempt
Fucking
was
Reagan,
in
god
1995.
damn.
A year earlier, during the 1994 midterm elections, Republicans made massive gains, capturing control of both chambers of Congress for the first time since 1952, amidst what we now call the Republican Revolution.
Fucking
passing a balanced budget
failure
amendment had been
ass.
a major campaign promise in 1994, so Republican officials now look to deliver.
Yeah, and then they didn't do it,
In order
I'm
to
assuming.
overcome the two-thirds threshold for constitutional amendments, Republicans allied with conservative Democrats, and although this alliance successfully passed a balanced budget amendment through the House, it came up one vote short in the Senate. Considering that most states have a balanced budget provision in their constitutions, and
Except
considering
Vermont.
the gains Republicans made at the statewide level in 1994, it is reasonable to believe that the amendment could have been ratified had it passed Congress. Most Democrats, including President Bill Clinton, opposed a balanced budget amendment because of their leniency towards deficit spending and concerns about the amendment's effect on social programs like Social Security. But
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. That's what I thought. Because the problem also is that if you have to balance the budget, you have to by definition have to make cuts somewhere, and there doesn't seem to be an appetite for making cuts in the places where we actually could make cuts. Because if you wanted to, like, as a good example, cut the military budget, that would probably be something that everyone would be like, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. Like, why not? But unfortunately, like, the military industrial complex has so captured a lot of our body politic that there's almost no chance that they'd actually touch it. What they would end up doing is defunding a lot of public programs, including your Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, any of that stuff, which are programs that a lot of people rely on. Meaning, like, sure, our budget would be balanced, but we would have probably more people starving. We would have more people out on the street. We like the trade-off just isn't really worth that. You would greatly increase the pain that Americans live under every single day just to balance the budget. And even then, again, we're the global currency. We're one of the largest, we're the richest country on earth right now. We certainly can find ways right now to stem our spending, but it's all about like where you get it from. And the balanced budget amendment, I think, because it would force the hand of the government to do that, I feel like we would just end up cutting Social Security to the point in which it doesn't exist.
But there were many exceptions. Although a balanced budget amendment hasn't even come close to passing since the 90s, the amendment still has some residual support and is one of the most likely amendments to be added to the Constitution in the future. Another amendment that still receives support today is the Congressional Term Limits Amendment, which, as you might have guessed,
Shocking.
would impose a limit on the number of terms members of Congress can serve. A variety of different term limit amendments have been proposed, but the most successful iteration was voted on after the Republican Revolution in 1994. Several states had passed term limit laws for members of Congress, but they were all struck down by the Supreme Court's decision in U.S. Term Limits Inc. v. Thornton, prompting many Republicans, and some Democrats, to call for a term limit amendment. A proposal was voted on by the House, and although it received a majority of the votes, it did not reach a two-thirds majority, killing the amendment. The amendment's detractors argued that term limits would prevent politicians from accumulating knowledge and experience, and that people can already vote politicians out of office if they don't like them. On the other hand, supporters of the amendment claimed it would allow new people and new ideas to enter Congress, while also reducing corruption.
Okay, so I'm a bit mixed on this. Mainly because I think so. Okay, if we're talking about term limits, if we want to address term limits, I think it's rather obvious that the first thing that needs to get touched if we're talking about term limits needs to be the Supreme Court. There is no reason why we should have lifetime appointments onto the Supreme Court. In terms of like the House and the Senate, I'm probably a little bit more on the no side, only because I think like you're running a campaign every single time, which means you have to earn your seat, certainly. So I do think that there's a certain argument to be made that we don't need them for frequently elected office. Frequently elected office, especially in the House. The House gets turned over. The House goes through their elections, every 2 years? So like, when we're talking about like the House of Representatives, like that is such a quick, like they constantly have to be, campaigning, or they're basically constantly facing a new vote every 2 years. So I think 2 years is good for that. The Senate getting a full 6 years, I'm not crazy about, because yeah, if I remember correctly, the Senate terms are 6 years, right? Senate term length, I'm pretty sure it's 6 years. Okay, I was right. Yeah, so like Senate's every 6 years. Maybe maybe I would drop that down to like 5 possibly, but otherwise I'm kind of like that's not too bad. I don't think that's awful. Like, when it comes to new people, I also don't think that having like term limits would really give us new people or new ideas, because we have guys like Pete Buttigieg who come in, and are they new people? Yeah. Do they introduce new ideas? Fuck no. Like, Pete Buttigieg is the same neoliberal that Bill Clinton was in the 90s. And he's got the same cadence as Barack Obama in the 2000s. So like, and at the end of the day, also the people who are making it to these positions are usually corporation-backed candidates. So also like you would have to address that system before I think any of that would even like before term limits would even matter.
While it's fairly unlikely that Congress would vote to establish term limits on itself, congressional term limits are extremely popular amongst the public, and a term limit amendment could very well be a future amendment to the Constitution. Let's jump back in time. During the early 1860s, the United States was deeply divided over the issue of slavery, so much so that a civil war seemed inevitable. However, there were a few last-ditch attempts to prevent violence by crafting an acceptable compromise. Many compromise proposals involved amending the Constitution.
Yes,
such
compromise
as the
with the people
Compromise,
who
named after Senator John J.
compromise
Crittenden,
with the
which
people who
actually
want to
called for
own
6
others.
amendments. Although the Crittenden...
No, stop. Wait, what was that? Go back. Enshrine the Missouri Compromise. I don't know what that is. Protect slavery on federal land in slave states. Let's see. Status of slavery in D.C. protect interstate slave trade, enforce fugitive slave laws, ban on interfering with slavery, or these amendments. Jesus. Okay. Let's take a look. What's the Missouri Compromise? Missouri Compromise of 1820. Let's take a look. The legislation admitted Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a non-slave state at the same time, so as not to upset the balance between slave and free states in the nation. It also outlawed slavery above the 36-degree line and 30 latitude line as in the remainder of the Louisiana Territory. The 30-degree line. What the fuck? What the hell does that mean? I don't even know what that means. What do they mean? The 30... Like, okay, wait 1 second. Okay, let me look at this map. Nope, stop. Look at this map. Huh. Okay, so it was like Oregon. Wow. Okay, so unorganized. Oh, what the fuck? Arkansas. God damn it. This is not the map I wanted. Is this the map I want? Here it is. I think this is the map I wanted. Oh dear. That's really zoomed in. Ah, here we go. Okay, I think I found it. Okay, so what? So it would give... Okay, so it'd be like Missouri gets to be slave territory. What the fuck, Maine? Maine's like all the way up here. What kind of compromise is this? Look how much slave territory they get. That's bullshit. Florida secession of 1819. Unorganized territories, claimed areas, original 13 colonies. Okay, none of that is in this map. Oh, wait, I can kind of see the outline. Okay. Other British territory, interesting. Michigan territories, interesting. Foreign areas, yeah, that's all Spain. Interesting. Okay. Cool.
Although the Crittenden Compromise never gained much traction, one compromise amendment did come fairly close to ratification, the Corwin Amendment. Named after Congressman Thomas Corwin, his amendment would have prohibited any future amendment from empowering Congress to abolish or interfere with any state's domestic institutions.
What the fuck?
Slavery. It was talking about slavery.
Yeah, like domestic institute. First of all, how do you even write that? How do you like determine a domestic institution within a state that doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of the United States, federal government? Like that would literally, if they had done this, it would literally be the case that like the U.S. federal government would not be able to even like check the state's power. Like states would just be allowed to do whatever the fuck they wanted. This would be, oh god, yeah, they're just
Congress passed the amendment. President James Buchanan supported it, and a few states ended up ratifying it.
Of course it
even
did.
received some support from the great emancipator
Of course Virginia
himself, Abraham Lincoln. Even so, the North and South had grown so polarized that another compromise over slavery was practically impossible. The outbreak of the Civil War in 1861 basically killed any hope for a peaceful reconciliation, and as the war dragged on, support for finally abolishing slavery grew, leading to the successful 13th Amendment. A century later, during the late 1960s, the United States was deeply divided over issues like civil rights and the Vietnam War. This was reflected in the contentious election of 1968.
Jesus Christ.
With the Republican candidate Richard Nixon narrowly defeating Democrat Hubert Humphrey by less than 1% of the popular vote. However, the Electoral College was heavily tilted towards Nixon and did not accurately reflect the closeness of the election. The election was further complicated by the third-party candidacy of George Wallace, who sought to get a...
I've also still never understood why we even keep the Electoral College around.
Enough electoral votes to
I've never heard a
any
strong
candidate
argument
from
for it.
securing the necessary majority, thus allowing him to use his influence to choose the winner. Although this plan became pointless when Nixon won the election outright, many people became concerned that the Electoral College was undemocratic. To resolve this issue, the Bay-Seller Amendment was proposed in 1969 by Senator Birch Bayh and Congressman Emanuel Seller. The amendment would have abolished the Electoral College and replaced it with a national popular vote, in which the candidate who received the most votes won the election, unless they got less than 40% of the vote, in which case the top 2 vote-getting candidates would advance to a runoff election.
Holy shit, that only makes complete fucking sense. Like, honest to God, what is the argument anymore for the Electoral College? Like, there is none. There's no argument for the Electoral College. There's no, like, how do we decide how many people want, like, this or that policy? How do we count that? By what? Human votes. So why don't we just count the human votes? It makes no sense to have this Electoral College nonsense. It just weights different states against each other. It's like, no, that's
With
not how
bipartisan
democracy
support,
works.
broad support from the public, and the backing of President Richard Nixon, the amendment passed the House by a wide margin. However, it was filibustered in the Senate by Southerners and conservatives from small states who benefited disproportionately from the Electoral College. Without enough support to break the filibuster, the Bayh-Celler Amendment was defeated. Although most Americans...
Like, I've heard people say that, like, well, this is the thing. Like, if candidates don't have to only have to worry about the popular vote, they won't go to like Midwest or small states or maybe even southern states to campaign because they're not going to be interested in the issues that those people care about. Which, like, I can see the argument. Like, I totally understand that concern. But here's the thing: those people have an avenue to address their grievances. It's called state elections. Like, they can do that. They can participate in a way that affects their life more by paying attention to state elections, not to federal ones. Federal elections is for everybody. We can't do like this, like, but what about like this Kansas beet farmer guy? Like, we just don't, like, no. What do you want out of that system? It doesn't matter. Like, that dude's voice needs to be equal to everybody else. You can't have it be worth more from, like, you know, with the electoral college count and all the rest of that shit. Like, it makes no sense. At the end of the day, we count votes based on people, on the votes the people individually submit, right? And again, any of those people who, you know, don't feel represented by the president, by the federal government, you have a way, again, to get your issues heard. It's called your state representatives. If anything, I think this would push people to care more about local politics, which would actually show returns on their advocacy.
And many politicians, especially Democrats, still support abolishing the Electoral College. Bayh-Celler represents the high watermark of the movement. A lot of amendments end up failing in the Senate, but one amendment proposed in 1911 would have taken care of this issue by abolishing the Senate. At the time, senators were elected by state legislatures rather than directly by the people, which many progressives saw as undemocratic and conducive towards corruption.
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
Progressive politicians pushed for amending the Constitution to require the direct election of senators.
Fucking every leftist I've ever seen.
A socialist congressman named Victor L. Berger believed the direct election amendment didn't go far enough, and instead proposed an amendment that would outright abolish the Senate, which he saw as obstructive towards progress.
Interesting.
Furthermore,
Berger's I guess okay. So I guess I'm assuming he's going by the the understanding that the Senate in and of itself is undemocratic because it offers an equal equal representation. So like the House in the House of Representatives, there are a number of representatives proportional to your state's population that represent you in the House of Representatives. Meaning, if you live in California, because a fuck ton of people live in California, you get a lot more representatives, a lot louder of a voice than, you know, somebody who lives in, I don't know, Rhode Island, where they have like 1/15 of, what's it called? Where you can, you have like 1/15 of the population. You know, so that's for the House. In the Senate, on the other hand, On the Senate side, it's like, well, everyone gets 2, even though not everybody is equal in that case. In terms of like the Senate versus the House, the Senate by definition is less democratic, just because it equalizes representation where there really shouldn't be. But did you watch any of the videos I sent this time? Which ones did you send last time? Now I'm like wondering what you sent. What did you send me? Oh wait, I know how to look. Did you send me this? No, wait. Did you send me this Zathura of the serpent thing? Did you send me this, or was it somebody else? I can't remember. I watched that ContraPoints video, but I think that was the stream before, right? Yes, I did. Okay. Didn't you want us to watch that? We can watch that tonight, actually. I'll watch and respond to it after this. I got nothing on the schedule. Ugh.
Legislation passed by Congress from presidential vetoes and judicial review, while also allowing the public to subject legislation to referendums.
Oh, no,
most politicians viewed Berger's proposal as radical, and it was never voted on. But since all amendments have to be passed by 2/3 of the Senate, it's safe to assume it never had a chance. The amendment requiring the direct election of senators was later ratified in 1913, becoming the 17th Amendment, while Berger's amendment was forgotten. Another forgotten failed amendment is the Ludlow Amendment, championed by Congressman Louis Ludlow. Ludlow introduced the amendment to Congress many times between 1935 and 1940. If passed, it would have required a national referendum for every declaration of war, unless the United States was attacked first.
That's actually pretty based. I would actually be pretty supportive of that.
Ludlow believed that the American people deserved a say in whether or not they were sent to fight and potentially die in a war, and his logic resonated with the public, with polls showing a large majority of Americans supported his proposal.
Yeah, I would say that, yeah.
Despite this, the amendment was opposed by many politicians, including President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who feared it would inhibit America's foreign policy too much. Support for the amendment grew after the USS Panay was sunk off the coast of China by the Japanese Air Force, even though Japan and the US weren't at war with each other, because many Americans feared being dragged into a war. The House voted on the amendment in 1938, where it was soundly defeated. Following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, the ensuing outrage caused the Ludlow Amendment to fall out of favor and into obscurity.
Yeah, I can imagine, yeah.
Lastly, I'd like to introduce to you what might...
I don't know. The Ludlow one's kind of complicated, because it's like, do you go by, like, the... Ow, fuck, my knee hurts. Like, do you go by, what is the, do you go by, like, popular opinion when it comes to entering in the war? Because, like, normal people can be tricked into war. We've already seen that in, like, the Iraq war, right? But, like, you have to figure there is a argument that people should be allowed to vote on whether they should, like, enter into that war. So there's kind of arguments on both sides. I can see the argument on both sides. I don't know what I would...
the goofiest failed amendment, which was proposed by the otherwise unremarkable Congressman Lucas Miller in 1893. Miller believed that countries would join the United States until one day the whole world would be part of the U.S.
Yes.
In preparation for this, he proposed renaming the United States of America to the United States of Earth. Unfortunately for Miller, Congress didn't take this proposal very seriously.
They were like, what?
Miller's amendment would have also abolished the Army and the Navy, and it would have required every law to have the continuous support of a majority of the people it affected.
Oh, that's actually kind of based.
Supposedly, Miller only introduced this amendment at the request of his constituents, so it's possible that this amendment was not his own idea. When the Founding Fathers drafted the Constitution,
I really don't hate that one. I don't hate it.
Difficult to change. Thus I'm
sure some people would be like, one world government sort of thing.
But what if it's just a little too difficult? Maybe the bar is set a little too high. Of all the thousands of failed amendments, there's certainly at least a few which deserved to succeed. But the strict requirements mean America's Constitution rarely changes, and in the current state of partisan gridlock in Congress, an amendment passing in the near future is extraordinarily unlikely. Many people advocate lowering the requirements to amend the Constitution, though this would require an amendment in and of itself. Others
Really, though?
advocate calling an Article 5 convention,
There
a
it is.
proposal which has received support from several states. Maybe an amendment
I was gonna say, yeah, hasn't the Article 5 stuff like kind of gotten traction, but kind
will
of
be
hasn't?
ratified someday not so far away from now. But until that day, we will only keep adding to the long list of failed constitutional amendments.
Well, that was fun. I didn't know. I only knew a couple of those, but that was fun. All right, that was certainly interesting. Okay, so Gaines. So Gaines sent me this video. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's about. It looks like it's about animals.
I think it's about time.
Oh no, not this voice. This voice makes me nervous immediately. All right, let's get into it. Let's see. Sometimes, what this is the price I pay for not having a million topics set up. If I suffer, I suffer. That's my fault. Let's get into it. Okay, let's do some background really quickly. In which I define a fallacy used by the regressive left. Feel free to refer to this video when you encounter this fallacy. The Nicholas Mate debate. Do I know who this person is? I've heard of Aaron Mate.
What's in a name?
Oh, no.
Potentially a great deal.
This is really long.
University of Toronto psychology professor Jordan Peterson.
Genders, rights, and freedom of speech. Jordan Peterson. Oh, okay. This is a Peterson debate. Okay. What do we got? Okay, these are both debates. Okay.
Take science.
Is that the same guy?
Equality,
I guess this is
the
Steve.
Age of gender equality.
Uh-huh.
The idea of a male and female nature.
Uh-huh.
The notion that there's a male and female brain is not only not obvious, but it's considered downright objectionable by many who.
Okay, wait. Okay. Define the fallacy used by the. Okay. Feel free to. Okay. Race realism. Oh no. Okay. I have to admit I struggle with these issues, but you've explained it very well here. This is very helpful. There's a lot to unpack, and I need to revisit your previous videos. I just discovered this channel is already really bad. Oh boy. All right. Well, seems like a lot of people got a lot out of this. So, also this person has 8,000 subscribers. That's 8,000 more than me. So, I guess I should listen to it.
I think it's about time I did this. In my last video,
Why do I wait? Isn't this the other video? Wait. Isn't this the duty to the Contra video? Gaines, is this the duty to the Contra video? I feel like it is. What's this person? Fuck me. Fuck Christ. Serpent Contra. Isn't this the same guy? He did the okay, thank you. Okay. I was like, why do I feel like I've heard this voice before? Okay, well, I watched the ContraPoints video on my own on my couch. In the safety of my own home. But all right, let's do it. Let's fucking do it. Okay. Sorry, I just wasn't ready for that voice and to be shocked by that. All right, let's do it.
I think it's about time I did this.
Go.
In my last video, I explained the concept of the family resemblance, and this was the fourth
family resemblance. Members of the category have family resemblance to each other. Okay. Beard and mustache, hair. No glasses. Glasses, only a beard, not a mustache. And then combination of both, but with glasses. Okay. Or no, well, technically, okay. Ideal member, third person. Okay. Why are they ideal? Because they're a mixture of both? Their head looks a little bit bigger. Okay. In the example, dark hair, glasses, a mustache, and a big nose are typical for this family, but does not define the family. Okay. Right. Okay.
Time I explained it in my videos, in order to debunk a certain fallacy used by the anti-liberal, regressive left. So instead of doing it again and again, I'm just going to make one video explaining it, a video I can refer to. The rest of you content creators.
Okay, Gaines, you know this person. What do they mean by anti-liberal? Do they mean like liberalism, or do they mean like I'm not sure what they're identifying with that.
are welcome to refer to it.
Whoa,
as
what's
well.
this? What do we got here? Ooh, it's a fun picture. Let's see. We got the dude from V for Vendetta. We have a buffalo, one of my favorite animals. A flip phone. My friend had one of those. He was a loser. Milo Yiannopoulos. That looks like shoe on head. Sargon of Akkad. Let's see, who else? Fantano. Fantano's a Melon's on here. Bill Maher's on here. I'm gonna assume somebody on here is Lauren Southern, but I won't say which one. A kangaroo person. I think I see Sam Harris. I'm just kind of like, who do I recognize with this group? Oh, Ricky Gervais. Okay, Ricky Gervais. I see Ben Shapiro. I see Rave Dubin. A Sphinx with glasses, nice. A Knight, cool. Steven Crowder. I think by anti-liberal he's using it as a broad buzzword for authoritarian or postmodernist. Okay, that's cool. I don't like that. Only real. Oh, there's Pep. How did I forget Pepe down here? Fuck. I'm not a fan of that, mainly because. Okay, so do we both recognize the problem with not actually using word, like by like playing with definitions and using anti-liberal as a description for not actual anti-liberalism? Like I find that to be rather dishonest off rip. But that's just a problem I have with a lot of these kinds of content creators. Let's see, who else can I find? Ooh, there's a dude. It looks like a French thinker. I don't remember his name, but I think that's a French thinker. Who else do I recognize? I said Sam Harris. Is Elon Musk not on here? Doesn't look like it. Oh, there's the one dude who's a fucking Buck, the blue cartoon. Joe Rogan's right there. I think that's Castro. Anti-SJW dude. I think this is just like internet people. Like this seems like I mean, don't get me wrong, this seems like a very politically interested group, but there are like, you have like Fantano on here. She heads political content. I know she makes like, I don't know what to describe her content as. It's like kind of political, but mostly it's like terminally online person. Is this who's this in the orange on the right? Is that might that be Count Dankula maybe? I'm not sure. I thought he was just a music. Yeah, for the most part he's just a music guy. I mean, he is rather left leaning, but like he doesn't make content around that. But anyway, let's continue. I'm getting distracted by all the by trying to look at this. Okay.
Well, and on top of that, I'm going to give a name to that regressive fallacy, so we can have something to identify it by. So
wait, no, let me go grab water. Hold up 1 second. Let me go grab water because I just realized my water's low. My voice is starting to waver. Give me like a second. Grab water and then. Huh? My voice only lasts so long till I need water to rejuvenate it. Okay, cool.
Let's make some definitions. If we want to understand where this regressive tactic comes from, we first need to talk about essentialism. Essentialism is basically the belief that every entity has an attribute, or a set of attributes, that is essential to its identity, and without which it would lose that identity.
Right.
Aristotle, the first man to formalize Western logic, posited that every entity has substances that are inherent to it, and every such substance makes it a member in a category shared with other entities that have that substance. Essentialism believes that while members of a category might differ from each other in many of their attributes, they all must have that.
Rationality is essential to man. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is rational. Okay. Okay. Yes. So this is an accurate, or at the very least, yeah, I would mostly agree. This is a pretty accurate definition for essentialism, but does the left engage in this? In my experience, it's usually people of a right-wing persuasion are those who essentialize traits of man and woman, or even like male or female, down to like, men are, if you've ever heard like the women are emotional, men are rational, men are better problem solvers, women are more empathetic, and like they use that as justification for women being better like caregivers, like that. I've never heard we don't, as a leftist, we don't subscribe to this train of thought, so I don't.
That substance.
Okay.
That essential substance.
Just wanna.
Otherwise,
Interesting you'd bring
they're
this
not
up.
part of that category, even if they share many other attributes with its members. This is the approach that dominated Western logic from Aristotle on.
Right, that makes sense.
But everyday language, for some reason, refused to adhere to the strict rules of logic. Philosophers throughout the ages were frustrated by the fact that people would use terms freely and mean different things at different times when using the same term.
Like woke.
Many philosophers believe that this is one of the things that prevent us from living a truthful life, and that if we just cleaned up our language of all of this ambivalence, we will solve a lot of our problems. The attempts to create a better language reached their peak at the beginning of the 20th century, with a movement that was called logical positivism, which tried to use logic to create a language that can better represent reality. The masterpiece book written in this effort was the Tractatus Logico Philosophicus, published in 1921, and written by a young Austrian philosopher named Ludwig Wittgenstein.
Oh, that's Wittgenstein. Okay, I've heard that name before.
Wittgenstein came the
What a
closest
cool
to
name.
producing a perfect language, a language that can describe the world without any ambivalent terms.
Oh.
But Wittgenstein himself was not satisfied. The more he grew older, the more he felt that there was something very wrong with this language. He started to claim that perfect languages, like logic and mathematics, may be beautiful in their purity, but they are not suitable to dealing with the complexities of daily life. In the 1953 book Philosophical Investigations, published posthumously, Wittgenstein compares the language we created in the Tractatus to pure crystal, but, he adds, this purity made it useless in the real world. It is like a ground with no friction, and because of that, a ground we can't walk on. Therefore, we need to stop trying to create a perfect language, and realize that our everyday language evolved to be the best language that there is to deal with daily life in the world.
Okay, cool. I want to read this. The more narrowly we examine actual language, the sharper becomes the conflict between it and our requirement. For the crystalline purity of logic was, of course, not a result of investigation. It was a requirement. The conflict becomes intolerable. The requirements is now in danger of becoming empty. We have got on to slippery ice where there is no friction, and so in a certain sense, the conditions are ideal. But also, just because of that, we are unable to walk. We want to walk, so we need friction. Back to the rough ground. Okay, okay. I can understand kind of what he's saying. If I'm understanding this correctly, it's essentially like, as language develops, we need to understand, or at the very least, reckon with the fact that language is always adopted by people and will be interpreted, reinterpreted, used, colloquially, regardless of how perfect you construct a language. Nobody said, I know it might seem weird, but back when I was growing up in 2006, 2007, nobody used savage as like a term of like coolness, right? And now it's become a rather colloquial term for someone who doesn't give a fuck, any of whatever you would use savage for, even though there's it was a term for a specific type of human, specific type of action, all the rest of stuff, but we've kind of we've shaped it to kind of fit into our way of speaking. But okay, I get what he means.
Wittgenstein, then, rejects the old idea that we need to clean our everyday language from ambivalences and create a perfect language. Everyday language is basically
I just
alright
want to say
the way
these
it
videos
is.
are really distracting with
Instead,
the snake.
the book tries to clean everyday language from the idealist notions put into it by philosophers, and which cause us to have an idealized view of the world. One of the notions he goes after is essentialism.
Makes sense.
In
I don't like
Aphorism
essentialism.
56 of Philosophical Investigations, Wittgenstein writes, "Consider, for example, the proceedings that we call games. I mean board games, card games, ball games, Olympic games, and so on. What is common to them all? Don't say there must be something common, or they would not be called games, but look and see whether there is something common to all. For if you look at them, you will not see something that is common to all, but similarities, relationships, and a whole series of them at that. To repeat, don't think, but look. Look, for example, at board games, with their multifarious relationships. Now pass to card games. Here you find many correspondences with the first group, but many common features drop out, and others appear. When we pass next to ball games, much that is common is retained, but much is lost. Are they all amusing? Compare chess with noughts and crosses. Or is there always winning and losing, or competition between players? Think of patience. In ball games there is winning and losing, but when a child throws his ball at the wall and catches it again, this feature has disappeared. Look at the parts played by skill and luck, and at the difference between skill in chess and skill in tennis. Think now of games like Ringer Ringer Roses. Here is the element of amusement, but how many other characteristic features have disappeared? And we can go through the many other groups of names in the same way, can see how similarities crop up and disappear. And the result of this examination is, we see a complicated network of similarities overlapping and crisscrossing, sometimes overall similarities, sometimes similarities of detail. What Wittgenstein is telling us is that because of the essentialist tradition, we have come to expect that members of a certain category must all have at least one attribute.
I'm just kind of curious. I find it interesting because I wanted to look it up. So the definition of game apparently is a form of player sport, especially a competitive one played according to rules and decided by skill, strength, or luck. A complete episode or a period play of ending. Eager or willing to do something new or challenging, which is like, I'm game, that sort of thing. Verb tense, to manipulate, typically in a way that is unfair or unscrupulous. Play video or computer games. But yeah, kind of, yeah. What is the true meaning of game? Ooh, hit me with this one. A game is an activity or sport, usually involving skill, knowledge, or chance, in which you follow fixed rules and try to win against an opponent or to solve a puzzle. Interesting. But even then, that doesn't even, that doesn't even encompass all of games, because if you ever played wall ball, that's not really, you're not playing against anybody. You're like, and you're not trying to solve a puzzle. It's, it's kind of just enjoyment, recreation, I suppose one could say.
Attribute in common. So when we think of the category of games, we expect that we would find an attribute that is common to all games. But when we look into it, we realize that there is no such attribute. Instead, we find that every game shares many attributes with every other game, but those are different attributes each time. Wittgenstein uses the term family resemblance to describe this type of similarity between members of the same category.
Okay.
Wittgenstein equates every language to a game, obeying certain rules.
Mm-hmm.
However, our everyday language is not one language game, but a combination of numerous language games. These language games will share the same words and terms, but they might have a different meaning, as the meaning is derived from the rules of the specific language game. But the human mind is flexible enough to navigate between these language games and understand the different meanings, and it is this flexibility that allows us to deal with the complex reality of human life. So the attempt to impose a rigid, one-dimensional language game on our everyday language is a fool's errand. Like he said, we need the friction. We need this multidimensional language, with all its ambivalences and imperfections.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in some language games,
I want to speed this up, but I also know
that
that this person's accent, I'll end up losing what they're saying.
Case.
All
Say
right.
that we discover a liquid that is like water in every way.
Uh-huh.
It is transparent, it boils at 100 degrees Celsius, it has the same specific gravity, it has the same effect on our body when we drink it, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Except for one thing. Its molecular formula is not H2O.
Makes sense.
Is it water? Well, it will probably be marketed as water, and humans will consume it and call it as such.
Nuevo what, yeah.
But the
yeah,
chemists
yeah.
will disagree. Because in the language game of chemistry, water is rigidly defined as H2O.
Right.
Who is right? Everybody. The chemist is right within the rules of chemistry.
Don't we kind of have, like, we have vitamin water and then water, which granted vitamin water is like a whole bunch of other shit put into water, but they still like try to refer to it as water. But they're not the same thing. Vitamin water is a mixture of water and a bunch of other shit.
In which the language of chemistry is just one of many languages we use.
They're rather similar, but they are distinctly different.
In my last video,
like,
I claimed
things
that
in
the
those
categories
bottles.
of man and woman cover a large variety of different cases, grouped together by the concept of family resemblance. Some commenters objected and said that there are two reproductive systems that define them. All right.
Wait. Oh. I was reading and not paying attention. Okay.
In my last video, I claimed that the categories of man and woman cover a large variety of different cases, grouped together by the concept of family resemblance. Some commenters objected and said that there are two reproductive systems that define them. All right, but what about a man who is born infertile? Is he not a man? What if a woman has a hysterectomy? Does she stop being a woman? The answer in both cases is no, because they still have many other attributes that define their sex and gender. Those who try to defend the essentialist view would say that these are abnormal cases, and an infertile human is damaged. Well,
essentialist position. A woman is rigidly defined by her ability to bear children. A woman who is biologically incapable of it is an incomplete woman. Okay. Non-essentialist. A woman is defined by many things. Damage to one of those things does not take away from her completeness. Yeah. That, okay. So I'm a non-essentialist. Cool. I know where I am.
This holds only if we are in a language game that believes it is essential for humans to procreate. In our everyday language,
I mean, there is a political spectrum that does believe that.
Not necessarily by their ability to procreate. So to say that these people are damaged is wrong.
Right. I would agree.
Traditionally, human society used to hold essentialist views about many things, and did indeed define some people as abnormal when they were lacking the essence. But the liberal society of today has adopted a non-essentialist.
I don't know what that graph is.
We do not judge individuals as unacceptable just because they are atypical to their category. As long as their divergence doesn't prevent them from functioning in everyday life, or cause them to harm themselves or others, they are accepted as normal.
Cool.
Instead of normal, we speak of normative. The typical members of a category determine what is normative to that category.
Alright, goes to store, buys light wash jeans and white sneakers. Normal. Abnormal. Can I get a description of what's happening? Is it just like it's RuPaul, that's all I need to know? Okay. Okay, traditional society. Goes to store, buys G's, that's normal. Okay. And the view that I would probably take, okay, goes to store, buys light wash jeans and white sneakers, normal, typical, normative. What's this say down here? Normal, atypical. Okay. I guess my question is, like, what's the meaningful, like I don't see what you I guess from a societal standpoint, I don't understand why the top, okay, I don't know if you guys can see. We'll do this one so I don't take up too much. Oh my god, I'm still taking up some of it. But like I don't understand, at least from my perspective, why I should care, or why the bottom society is any less specific, or like offers any less information and to approach society and approach other people's existence there in thereof. Like
the atypical members, while there is nothing wrong with them, are not normative. And this is what the regressive left is trying to exploit in order to undermine our liberal society.
Wait, why is there a distinction between normal and normative? Maybe I need to, okay, normal versus normative. To sociologists, they're different things. Normal refers to that which conforms to norms. So while norms and rules guide our behavior, normal is the act of abiding by them. Normative, however, refers to what we perceive as normal, or what we think should be normal, regardless of whether it actually is. Okay, cool. So wait. So how did he describe that? Go back real quick. Normal. Conforms to norms. Gotcha. normative, right, and atypical. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay.
In order to undermine our liberal society.
Okay.
The regressive tactic is simple. First, they pretend that society has an essentialist perception of a certain category of people and portray themselves as those who are fighting against this essentialist view.
Well,
this allows them to claim that science is on their side, because science does indeed show us that we cannot impose essentialist categories on the natural diversity of humans. And so, they can present themselves as debunking that straw man of essentialism that they themselves have erected.
Whoa. Go back for a second. Whoa. Okay, I want to listen to all of that claim all over again.
First, they pretend that society has an essentialist perception of a certain category of people, and portray themselves as those who are fighting against this essentialist view.
Okay, cool. Let me immediately respond to these. First of all, I don't believe that the I don't have a belief that I do not believe that me nor most leftists that you talk about believe that society holds essentialist views, like as a whole, of like certain people or certain groups. I do think there is a normative view that a lot of people do hold. On the other hand, though, I do think there are things that people think are normal simply because they're normal to them, but not necessarily that they're essentialist about it. So and also, I don't really think at least me personally, it's not really a society thing, because I don't think it's a societal issue that people are, I'm assuming we're going to be talking about transphobia in this video. Like, people who are trans have quite a lot of broad support in the American populace. It is specifically the right wing who seems to have who seem to come to a real sticking point when it comes to trans people, and quite frankly, gay and lesbian people. I believe it's Ben Shapiro who has gone out there and just said that a person's a person's goal, a human person's like goal is to procreate. They're like what's the word I'm looking for? Their purpose is to procreate, is to create more people. That is why like sex exists. Like, sex in and of itself you should only be having for reproductive purposes. The left does not hold this view. The right holds this view. So I'm not sure who he's referring to when he says that like the left holds that view, that like, because most people don't hold that view. That is a minoritarian viewpoint. So how can I be fighting against what does he say? I'll just bring up, can I bring up the thingy, the transcript? Where are we? Oh my god, it doesn't go to the point you're at. Just kidding. I guess we're just gonna go back to the 9-minute mark.
They pretend that society has an essentialist perception of a certain category of people.
Yeah, I don't believe that society is. I do think our laws tend to do that, but that's mainly because laws don't get updated the same way language does. Laws, when they're written, are written for the time that they're written in and must be updated to fit the world that they exist in now. But I don't think that we live in that world. But I certainly do think that our laws exist in a conception that isn't modern. And we also live in a two-party system, at least here in the United States, that defends that traditional view of the way laws are written. Absolutely.
And portray themselves as those who are fighting against this essentialist view. This allows them to claim that science is on their side, because science does indeed show us that we cannot impose essentialist categories on the natural diversity of humans. And so, they can present themselves as debunking that straw man of essentialism that they themselves have erected.
Okay, so again, I don't know what essentialism, so this is the problem also. I don't know what it, like, he just said that the left constructed some form of essentialism. I don't know what he's talking about, and I don't really know if he knows what he's talking about.
However, where I countered the essentialist position by relying on the family resemblance concept, which allows me to keep believing in categories even without an essence, the regressives claim that the absence of an essence proves that those categories are merely a social construct.
The patriarchy teaches that all snowflakes are alike. Shut the fuck up, I said. That this is what the patriarchy teaches, however, no two snowflakes are alike, ergo snowflakes are. So I don't. Well, yeah, snowflakes are. That what? I'm super confused now. Go back.
Simple. First,
I'm not gonna pay attention to that.
Society has an essentialist perception of a certain category of people
Mm-hmm.
and portray themselves as those who are fighting against this essentialist view.
I mean, there are people
This
that they're
allows
fighting
them to claim
against.
that science is on their side. Because
I
science
don't know
does
why.
indeed show us that we cannot impose essentialist categories on the natural diversity of humans.
Uh-huh.
And so, they can present themselves as debunking that straw man of essentialism that they themselves have erected.
I still don't understand what he means by the essentialism that the left has constructed. Because the left actively pushes back against the more conservative conception of essentialism, where, again, I said it earlier, men are more rational, women are more emotional. You can tell me, I've never heard it from somebody on the left. Never.
However, where I countered the essentialist position by relying on the family resemblance concept, which allows me to keep believing in categories even without an essence, the regressives claim that the absence of an essence proves that those categories are merely a social construct.
Wait, why are we talking about essences now? Now I don't know what we're talking about. What does he mean by without an essence? Does he mean a soul? I don't...
Exploiting the ignorance of naive laymen, who are unaware that you can define categories in a non-essentialist way, they can then manipulate the discourse
Well, yeah,
around
but
the
it
subject.
depends on if your
Once they
definition
establish
is
the idea that it is a
essentialist.
social construct, they claim that what is considered normative is not the result of what humans typically are by nature, but something that was imposed on us to construct us in a certain way.
Well, no. That's not the argument. The argument, so if we want to talk about like the patriarchal normative system, it is a system built with a certain framework and understanding that men are one way, women are another by their through biological realities, right? So the understanding that women are more demure, women are more caregiving, women are more gentle, men are more aggressive, men are more are more rational, men are thinkers, women are responders emotionally. Like these are the systems to which the patriarchy is built on. It's built like the patriarchy is built on the essentialization of what are considered manly traits and what are considered to be womanly traits. That's how the structure is built. Then the negative part of that is that the structure, so that's the framework that the patriarchal structure works off of. It then, through that framework, then constructs societies that, surprisingly, shocking, you might be shocked to hear this, keep women in lower positions of power and status than to men. So you have a scenario where a lot of women stay at home, take care of kids, not because they're incapable of doing any of the things men do, but because that is what they are decided. That's what the patriarchy has taught and has reinforced for a very long time as the proper social roles and where people fit in society. The problem with the patriarchy is that it does not allow for the individual what's the word I'm looking for? Manifestation of one's life path. A woman under the patriarchy is not able to make the choice whether to stay home, raise children, or seek out employment and become a business leader or whatever it might be. Under a patriarchal system, unfortunately, women just simply aren't given the ability and the space to be equal in their decision making to men. So that's at the end of the day, men are at the top of the patriarchal worldview. Anyway, we're gonna have to go back just because dude says a lot.
Goes around the subject. Once they establish the idea.
Also, can we please move on from this picture? I'm sorry. This is like, when was this from? 2014, maybe? Like, can we please move on? This poor woman. I'm sure she's sick and tired of seeing her face plastered all over the internet everywhere as being an avatar for literally every woman that everybody hates. You know, if you've ever had a bad interaction with a woman ever in life, you tend to notice that people who have those characterize them with this avatar, which has got to fucking suck to be avatar of all negative womanhood.
Social construct, they claim that what is considered normative is not the result of what humans typically are by nature, but something that was imposed on us to construct us in a certain way. Thus, they can portray liberal society as oppressive and undermine it.
Well, no, not liberal society. Liberal society, like under under a patriarchy, under a patriarchal system. Yeah, like liberalism in and of itself is fine. The tenets of democracy, equality, egalitarianism, you know, all that stuff is perfectly fine. I got no problems with liberalism. I have an issue with patriarchal world structures.
In my previous video, I described in detail how this is done with gender. I analyzed how the regressive left is employing this tactic to portray contemporary society as ruled by what they call the cis-normative, a social construct that says that men and women should behave only in a certain way, thus creating what they call the gender binary.
Wait. Person's sexuality is not specified. Okay. Person's sex is not specified. Male, female, intersex. Right. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Just like I said, there's a lot here. I just want to be sure to respond to everything.
In my previous video, I described in detail how this is done with gender. I analyzed how the regressive left is employing this tactic to portray contemporary society as ruled by what they call the cis-normative, a social construct that says that men and women should behave only in a certain way, thus...
Okay, so from my understanding, the cis-normative framework is simply one that recognizes, so when somebody is cisgender, that is thought of as normal. Now, is it? No, because there's no such thing as normal, but it's thought of as kind of the norm. Most people are either male or female. That's, or either man or woman, I should say. That's like the normative understanding, which means that the cisgender identity of just man and woman, no other qualifiers, nothing else, tends to be what is thought of as normal, meaning it's the cis-normative. It's not a, that's also not something that, it's not something that the left made up. It's a observation. I don't really think it's a stretch to say, do we live in a world that generally thinks, like doesn't blink an eye, even give a second thought when somebody is just a normal straight white guy and a normal straight like white girl? Like yeah, like nobody, none of these things are notable. They're not even, we don't even think about straight people, and they're invisible to us in a certain kind of way. We don't, we don't write laws. We don't have political, we've never had political debates, at least in the United States specifically, over the rights of straight people. It's just never been a thing. So it's thought of, because we've never had to have that conversation, that it's rather normative, or again, what people tend to think is normal, even though there is no such thing as normal.
Creating what they call the gender binary. I showed how they are fooling confused kids who fall outside of this alleged binary into believing that the cis-normative is oppressing them, because it puts pressure on them to conform to the norm. Once they convince them that they are oppressed, they turn them into pawns in the ideological battle to undermine liberal society. I mentioned Professor
okay, this is all just conspiracy. Okay, this is conspiracy now. Okay.
Jordan Peterson, who is leading the fight against these regressives.
Right.
And I showed part of a TV debate, which by now is not the most famous TV debate he was in. Anyway, in that debate, his main rival was Dr. Nicholas Matt, a lecturer in gender studies.
Right.
Right off the bat, Matt comes out with this
Wouldn't it be Mate?
Basically, it's not correct that there is such a thing as biological sex. And I'm a historian of medicine. I can unpack that for you at great length if you want, but in the interest of time, I won't. So that's a very popular misconception.
Matt never gets around to explaining what he means by that.
Uh-huh.
But it is quite obvious. He pretends that biological sex is defined rigidly, in a way that sees certain biological components as essential and belonging to only one of the sexes. Science has shown that this is not the case, that the male biology contains components that are associated with the female sex.
Wait. So what he is arguing, and I've had a few. I talked to somebody on. I exchanged with somebody on Reddit for like very briefly on the topic. But the idea of biological sex like existing seems to be, from what I understood, there's an understanding that biological sex is actually rather as fluid as like gender would be, in the sense that like your biological sex is kind of isn't as static as I think most people think it is. You know, there's the understanding, I think, that if you have like a penis, you are biologically male, right? But having a penis is really only one element to your like sex. Like it's only one element to it. Is it a large one? Sure, maybe. I'm not a scientist, but there is a argument behind that. Now, this guy didn't go into explain. I'm sure he could probably actually explain it better than I ever could. This is I think actually a little bit more, I don't want to say on the fringes, but certainly most people generally go with, and I think it's the intuitive, or at the very least it's the understandable explanation that sex and gender are different things. Gender is fully constructed by our societies. It is while you can find similarities throughout different cultures and different societies that correspond with the same gender roles, they are still socially constructed and still things that we as societies come up with and moderate to our specific needs. Whereas biological sex, again, there is evidence to suggest that it is just as fluid, or just fluid at all, the same way gender is, but I'm not as well versed on that. But I don't think this dude has looked into that explanation very much.
And vice versa. It is rather the amount of these components in a body that determines if
no, let's go back really quick.
But it is quite obvious. He pretends that biological sex is defined rigidly, in a way that sees certain biological components as essential and belonging to only one of the sexes. Science has shown that this is not the case, that the male biology contains components that are associated with the female sex, and vice versa. It is rather the amount of these components in a body that determines if we are male or female. But we are still...
Okay, yeah. So from what I understand, that's not actually true. That's kind of how we organize things. So the thing is, here's the thing, is how we organize things is completely arbitrary. It is. How we decide what are the male traits and what are the female traits is still as socially constructed to a degree as gender is. At the end of the day, there are human beings who are making the decision, the subjective decision on what are male, what are female traits. So it also comes down to is biological sex really I don't think it's devoid of human tinkering the same way I think most people would think it is.
Male or female according to science, but not according to Dr. Matt, who pretends that biological sex can only be defined in an essentialist way, so he denies its existence and even has the temerity to claim that science is on his side.
It's not my view, I just know that for over 50 years scientists have shown that that's not true.
On the basis of this claim, he can argue that the cis-normative is nothing but a social construct, which is excluding certain individuals, and thus oppresses them.
It definitely is.
Basically, the very popular idea and assumption that most people probably have, and definitely that our structures convey, that there is such a thing as male and female, that they connect to being a girl or a boy or a man or a woman. And then sometimes that will also recognize intersex or trans people or transsexual people, as you mentioned, because that's sometimes also referred to as a gender binary. So anything that fits within a gender binary can work within cisnormativity.
Okay.
But cisnormativity is basically that everyone assumes that there is male and female, and so very little is actually looked at to understand what's actually the case.
Dr.
Right, because even cisnormativity, you have to think about it. Again, what we're talking about every single time we have this conversation, we're talking about how we organize people in our society and how we describe them. But every time we do that, that is still a human, like, what we decide goes in what box. You can always, like, if there's like a box and it's like, all right, you need to take like all these post-it notes of random traits and you need to assign them to male or female, right? Even if you assigned all of them, that would make sense of, like, you assigned, I don't know, like, you assigned penis or, whatever it is. You assign, like, all of these to the way that we define female and male, right? Regardless of what is actually in there, those are still constructed by us. We are still deciding what to put into each category. We are constructing the categories to actually fit our needs, which is kind of part of the like the process to a degree. Gold isn't gold. We made it gold. It is just a shiny ass metal. But we labeled it as gold, and going forward, it's always been known as gold, and yada, yada, yada. But, like, the same way hydrogen and oxygen don't actually, like, those two things conceptually don't exist, because all they are these elements. The elements don't have names to a degree. And a lot of this, honest to God, I find a lot of this is, to a degree, semantics, and a semantic opposition to, like, the evolution of language to a degree. But yeah, I'm not, when it comes down to it, understanding us as people is a kind of never ending process, it seems like, considering our brains hold so much information, just an immense amount of situation. It's not, like, insane to think that even sex is something that we still kind of constructed to explain why most people have either a penis or a vagina and whatever it might be. Those are still, I think, the process of which how we still describe those and organize those things, but they're still constructed and facilitated by us.
Matt behaves like such a weasel during this debate that I've decided that he deserves to have this fallacy named after him. So, I hereby christen it the Nicholas Matt fallacy.
I still feel like it's Mate, but okay.
Let's define it
Maybe
officially.
it's Matt, who knows?
The stages of the Matt fallacy are as follows. 1. Create a strawman by pretending that, in liberal society, a certain category of people is rigidly defined in an essentialist manner.
God, this is so dishonest. Okay, again, in a liberal society, that's... do I need... Okay, we already went over this. The issue is not with a liberal society. It's with the superstructures within that society. A certain category of people is rigidly defined in an essentialist manner. Well, in laws, we tend to write laws in a rather rigid fashion. So when we're talking about in a society made up of laws, meaning the guardrails for what is okay and not okay is defined by the laws that we pass. If the laws are written in a way that isn't that rigidly defines people and things and everything else, then yes, we do live in a society that is keeping people out due to a, again, since these laws were written a very long time ago, and with an understanding that might be outdated sometimes, can be written in an essentialist manner. It's not the worst thing in the world. It just means we need to update our language for as we learn new things. Okay.
2. Cite scientific research to show that when we look into it, we see that this essentialist definition fails. 3. Claim that this proves that this category isn't based on nature, and is therefore completely a social construct.
Okay, so scientific research, is that is that bad? If you have research that backs up your claim, then yeah, that just makes you correct when we look into it. But you didn't look into it. Okay, so here's the problem I have with this video. We never looked into this person's like claim that biological sex is doesn't actually exist. He never showed his explanation. He quite literally strawmanned his explanation, because he said that he's pretending that this and this and this. He's asserting what Nicholas Matt's position is and then arguing against that. Quite literally a straw man. But yeah, okay. So I don't care about 2. 3, claim that this proves that this category isn't based on nature and therefore completely a social construct. Well, if the data presented demonstrates that this category is socially constructed and not one of nature, then okay. Also, this is the thing. I don't know what the opposition is to social structures. Social constructs. Social constructs are good. Like, they're not negative things. They can be negative, but certainly we create social constructs around like almost everything. It's how we understand, organize, and like develop our world. So I don't really see what the like inherently negative aspect to that would be. Conclude that the category is imposed on us and creates a normative that is oppressing certain individuals or groups. Okay, so that category the category is imposed on us through the social osmosis of the construct, right? Like, it's, you don't get away from straight cisgender people just being being normative, right? But because of the idea that they're thought of as the normal, it becomes easier to demonize and dehumanize people who fit outside of the normal. Meaning, yeah, they can run into oppressive structures and oppressive individuals. When people are brought up with a belief that X thing is normal, when something deviates it, they've been giving implicit permission to attack that abnormal thing. Because, again, it's abnormal, it's aberrant, it's kind of how, people are pushed in certain directions to, it's why people otherize other people. It's why when you see people, it's dangerous to push rhetoric that dehumanizes and otherizes people, because then when there are crimes or anything against those groups, you don't quite see them as your equal to a degree. And use this to portray liberal society as oppressive. Again, I don't know why he uses liberal society as like a I'm not sure why he keeps liberal society in this. This person is not a liberal. This person is a conservative. But liberal society can be oppressive. It's not essentially oppressive. Again, equality, fraternity, democracy, all that stuff. But it certainly can be if structures within a liberal system are put in place to otherize others and validate or lionize the aspects of other people. And again, that's, yeah.
4. Conclude that the category is imposed on us and creates a normative that is oppressing certain individuals or groups. 5. Use this to portray liberal society as oppressive. The way to debunk this fallacy, as I have shown, is to explain that you don't need an essence to define a category. A category can be defined based on Wittgenstein's family resemblance principle. And in fact,
in terms of how he's
this is how contemporary liberal society does define categories of people. Thus, the category is not a social construct or based on human nature, and the normative is simply determined by how humans typically are by nature. Therefore, as long as it allows the atypical people to express their nature, the normative is not oppressive.
Okay, Okay, we're gonna. Do I want to go through all of those? So again, the problem with the last one. Oh God. Okay, fine. I'll go through all of them. As these. Well, these are all fake. They're not real. So no, I'm not gonna go over any of these. This is knocking down a. Yeah, this is. I'm not
and
doing
the
it.
normative is simply determined by how humans typically are by nature. Therefore, as long as it
Nope,
allows the
nope,
atypical people to express
wait. No, normatives are not. No, we just. Okay, do I need to do it again? Do I need to do it again? Normal versus. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. Versus normative. Okay, normal refers to that which confirms to norms. So while norms are rules and guides, normative, however, refers to what we perceive as normal or what we think should be normal, regardless of whether it actually is. Remember, normative isn't concrete. Normative is rather subjective. Therefore, if it's normative, it like by definition,
the
it's
nature.
not whatever. Yeah. That's just
Normative
like,
is not oppressive.
normative structures
We can find
be
the math
oppressive.
fallacy employed in other places as well. Long before he became famous for his stance on the non-binary gender issue, Jordan Peterson took part in another TB debate about the difference between the male and female brain.
Right.
His rival this time is
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is okay. Let's be clear. This is a right-wing conception of men and women's brains. This is not like there's a reason why you never hear leftists say things like women are compassionate, men are aggressive. There's a reason for that. Because at the end of the day, the conservative worldview is one that is bought into the patriarchal, the normative patriarchal gender roles, because they believe that women are better caregivers, that women are nicer, that they're more emotional, and men are more rational. I keep going to that because that's like the one that seems reasonable, I guess, to some of them, where they're like, well, yeah, look, like men are just more rational and better decision makers, and all the rest of these other positive and successful traits, and women are, well, they take care of the kids, and that's nice too. They don't, they can't pay for their own stuff, and they can't exist in their own, they can't take out their own credit cards or be in charge of their own finances. But hey, they can take care of my sperm that grew into their stomachs. So, like, at the end of the day, this is a conservative worldview. This is how conservatives see, men and women.
Daphna Joel, a professor of psychology, who claims that there is no such thing as a male brain and female brain.
Yes.
Could you make that case for our viewers, please?
Yes. So it's a little more complex than this. So there are differences between the brains of males and brains of females, group differences, and you can see many differences actually, and we've seen them. But what you can see is a typical male brain and a typical female brain in an actual human being. So there is no person that has only male characteristics or only female characteristics. Each one of us has both characteristics that are more prevalent in.
Yeah. And what she's saying is that, like, most people's brains are rather fluid. You're going to have a little bit of, like, both male and female, remember, assigned traits. Again, without the what's it called? Without the patriarchal, mind state or worldview that men are aggressive, would aggression end up being a male-centered trait? I don't think so. Now, one might argue, oh, but Josh, throughout history, weren't most most men who went off to war, most men who were, hunting animals, gathering, all the rest of that shit, weren't those like males? Wouldn't it make sense that their brains develop in a different and unique way to women? To which I would say, yes, they did develop in that way. But that there's a big difference between the evolutionary development based around certain traits and your role in that society, and that being the base level, the base level programming of your brain. Those are two different things.
Males and characteristics that are more prevalent in females. In this sense, there are no male brains and female brains, although everyone has a brain.
And what did you call it when you see both of those?
Right, mosaic. So each one is an individual mosaic of both features that are more prevalent in males and features that are more prevalent in females. Usually people are surprised because no one is thinking about this way. So usually we just list sex differences and we assume that sex differences add up. So the more differences we found, we believe that the sexes are more and more different. And what we've seen, and no one has looked at it before, is that the sex differences are not consistent. So you can be highly, extremely on the male side on some features and extremely on the female side on other features.
So basically, Joel shows us that nature perfectly matches Wittgenstein's description. There is no attribute that is unique or essential to the male or female brain, but there are attributes that are more typical to each one of the sexes. A brain that has more feminine attributes is a female brain, according to the family.
Wait, no, but that's not what she just said. She said that we can see patterns and you might see group similarities, but there is no such thing as a female brain. There is just maybe at best, if I'm being like charitable to his argument, there's like a kind of more female brain, but even then that's not really. You could did he not listen? He posted this. Say that again. Say all of that again.
Extremely on the female side on other features.
So basically, Joel shows us that nature perfectly matches Wittgenstein's description. There is no attribute that is unique or essential to the male or female brain, but there are attributes.
Why can I ask? Okay, is Gaines even still here? I don't even know if Gaines is here. He better be here. I'm suffering through this for him. I have no idea. Can I ask why is it that so many conservatives okay, Gaines, you need to answer me this. Why are so many conservatives so concerned with this kind of evolutionary explanation, I guess biological like study into, like, why is there isn't a version of this on the left, right? Why is it there are countless YouTubers on the right wing that make this specific kind of context? I genuinely want to know what the appeal is. Like, I don't quite get the appeal, because a lot of this is like a armchair philosopher, an armchair sociologist or something. But like, I just don't. You more delve into this stuff, so I'm curious. I'm not a essentialist, but there clearly are sex differences that exist, which is his point, that categories exist beyond social constructs, but not essential. But so that's the thing. Categories don't exist in nature. You don't find categories in nature. The fundamental building of a category is in and of itself socially constructed. Like, it is a device for us as people to understand the world around us. But by no means is that understanding natural. That understanding is contextual. Do you get what I mean? Like, if you understand me, like, let me know. Like, and also, like, sex differences, the problem is, so okay. Let me see if I can. Where's paint? I wanna see if I can visually represent what I'm trying to get at. Well, Zathara was echoing Wittgenstein's idea that something joins a category only when its natural attributes add up to the majority of that normative attributes of that category. Yes, I would agree with that. But the problem is that when we decide upon what is normative, that also is socially constructed. What is normative is what we tend to think. It's rather subjective. So, like, for us to find the chicken or egg, I feel like is kind of this never-ending circle. It feels like it's this never-ending cycle of like what came first or whatever, to a degree. I don't like. I understand. I vaguely understand. I'm like, I kind of get what he's saying, but it seems like he's coming at it from also a bit of a rather partisan lens, which, that's fine. I don't have to like his partisanship. 1 second. What am I looking to do? That's right. This. Okay, 1 second. We're gonna have to move to my camera while I fix this really quick. So you're gonna have to deal with looking at my face for a minute. Okay, there we go. What am I looking for? Window? No, looking for display. Display. There we go. Show me. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Windows. This. Huh? This. This. Oh, I don't know about that. Okay. Wait, how do I make it this screen though? That's kind of weird. Oh, wait, display. I'm fucking stupid. Here we go. No, not that one. This one. Thank you. Okay, cool. I'm like kind of good at this times when I'm not dumb. Okay, here we go. I'll put this down here so that we can shift into, okay, we'll do this. And then I should be able to bring this over. Let's lock this really quickly. Okay, here we go. There we go. Subjectively, the case, it's mostly males who have penises, but some very female trans women may have penises. But as a whole, you can see that trans women are anormative. I'm gonna have to read that like 3 times. You can say it's objectively the case. Right, okay. So, okay. You can say it's objectively the case. It's mostly males who have penises. Okay, fair. Yeah, but but some, yeah, but that doesn't mean that all men, like, okay, let me read it. But some very female trans women may have penis. Yes. But some very female trans women, okay, may have, right, because, okay, if they haven't gotten bottom surgery. But as a whole, you can see that trans women are anormative. Yes, but anormative, again, is only describing what we're, what we believe is normal. There is no such thing as normal. See, this is the problem I'm having, is we're talking about what is normal, and there just fundamentally isn't such a thing. Cause, okay, now that I have this open, let's see, what's like a good, we'll do this, like, okay, let's do, we'll be really normative and have like men. So you have like, we got males over here, right? God damn, my bad. Okay, no, we got males over here, right? And then I'm gonna be a piece of shit and do like females over here, right? Oh my god, wow, I'm really fucking bad at this. In the context of the female secondary sex characteristics, penis isn't normal. It doesn't mean it can't exist in say, trans women, but it is objectively normal or abnormal by mere math. In the context of female secondary characteristics, penis isn't normal. I mean, it certainly isn't thought of as normal. It doesn't mean it can't exist in, say, trans women. But if it does exist in trans women, then it means that women can have penises. Therefore, it can't be one or the other. At the end of the day, there are women who have penises at the end of the day. But again, that's because of the construct that women does not comport to sex, your biological sex. I need to look at the biological sex stuff, because I've heard that people have been like, yeah, that's not really real the same way people think it is. But I haven't read or seen any of that stuff yet, so I need to look more into that. But like, okay. I don't even know. I'm like lost. Now I don't know what the fuck I was gonna draw. Every time I open Paint to draw something, I like forget, and like my thought experiment disappears. I'm also not very good at drawing anyway, as you can clearly tell. We're gonna, golly, I need to get one of those pens. I wish I had a pen. Oh no, I'm still pretty bad at drawing. It doesn't matter. Anyway. We don't need to save this. I'm just glad I did that though. Let me go back to this real quick. Nope, not that. This. There we go. Okay, cool. Women can have penises. As I said, it's not essentialist. That doesn't mean it isn't abnormal for a woman to have a penis. Yeah. I mean, we agree on that. I'm just confused where this guy. I still don't really get what his contention is. It feels like it's searching for like a hypocrisy that isn't there, because the left isn't. I feel like he keeps making this about leftism and whatnot, and it really isn't. Whole point. So let's finish the video and we see what we have. Yeah. We'll just finish because we'll just finish.
Are more typical to each one.
Oh yeah, we need to go back so I know what the fuck he's talking about.
On the male side, on
Okay.
some features, and extremely on the female side.
I want to hear this explanation
assume
actually.
that right, mosaic. So each one is a individual mosaic of both features that are more prevalent in males and features that are more prevalent in females.
Right.
Usually people are surprised.
People are mixed.
No one is thinking about this way. So usually we just list sex differences and we assume that sex differences add up. So the more differences we found, we believe that the sexes are more and more different. And what we've seen, and no one has looked at it before, is that the sex differences are not consistent. So you can be highly, extremely on the male side on some features and extremely on the female side on other features.
So it might be an issue that it might be, again, I'm not sure what her like studies showed or anything, but it might be that we weight certain sex characteristics higher than others, and that leads to a understanding that like, hey, if you have like these 3 male characteristics, then we put you in the male category, even though technically you could have all of these more minor ones that are of like a less weight value that lean more like feminine traits possibly. It might be that might kind of be where, as opposed to, I don't know if it would be like an unweighted thing, because like if we say that having a penis is such a like a determining factor of what is male, then you could have every trait that a woman has but have a penis and we would still label you as male. So like, but that would be incredibly difficult to I mean, I guess it would describe more of the world, I suppose. I don't know. There's part of me that kind of doesn't like any of the categorizations. I don't like, they're useful in some ways, but I find the more we go on, I'm starting to think that we really should just abolish like gender and stuff to a degree. But anyway.
So basically, Joel shows us that nature perfectly matches Wittgenstein's description.
Isn't he arguing that that the left is essentialist? Because that's what he keeps saying. He keeps saying that leftists are creating an essentialism, and I don't think that's true. Correct me if I'm wrong.
There is no attribute that is unique or essential to the male or female brain, but there are attributes that are more typical to each one of the sexes. A brain that has more feminine attributes is a female brain, according to the family resemblance principle. But since Joel pretends that only an essentialist definition can hold, she claims that this shows that there is no such thing as a female brain. And based on that, she can claim...
Well, yeah, okay. So yeah, because there can't. There is no 100% female brain. There also is no 100% male brain, meaning that they don't exist. The category of female and male brains are only ones of relation to categories that we deem are female and male. Okay.
That the gender roles in our society are not based in our nature, but are a social construct.
So the problem is, again, our social structure, which reinforces and creates these differences. Whether in a gender-neutral society we will still have these differences, no one knows. I don't know. Maybe there will be differences.
Yeah, we've developed...
Why do we care about them? Why, as a society,
we've developed too far with the understanding of male, female, man, and woman.
This is my question, and I'm keeping asking it, but I think this is the main question.
To her credit, Joel isn't fanatic in a social constructionism. She admits that there is a possibility that nature plays a role. But the ideological bent keeps driving her to try and deny throughout the debate and emphasize the role of nurture. By using the Matt fallacy to deny the existence of a male and female brain, she can pretend that nature plays no part. Even though Professor Peterson does not hold an essentialist...
No, whoa. I don't think that's true. I don't think that she ever said that nature doesn't play a part. Simply that we definitely play a part in the development of not just the human brain, but the categorization of of like traits within like somebody's development. I don't know if that's
Position
true.
when he argues for difference between the sexes, she is seemingly incapable of getting the point. One of Professor
Jordan
Joel's
Peterson
main
gonna talk at all in
arguments
this
is that
video?
her rival's claims are ideologically and politically motivated. She claims that we are obsessed with trying to find biological differences between the sexes so that we can justify the different gender roles in society. She is completely oblivious to the fact that there is an opposing ideological movement, which claims that the gender roles are a construct of an oppressive society, and that her arguments stem from this radical ideology. The result, as usual with regressives, is that she is delegitimizing the arguments of those who are
Like this is I don't like I don't like a lot of this because a lot of it pretends that there's no political motivation behind it when this person is clearly pretty politically motivated to push their conservative worldview.
Peterson does not hold
Also,
an essentialist position when he argues for difference between the sexes. She is seemingly incapable of getting the point. One of Professor Joel's main arguments is that her rival's claims are ideologically and politically motivated.
Did she say that? Can a source, please?
She claims that we are obsessed with trying to find biological differences between the sexes so that we can justify the different gender roles in society.
Well, yeah, that okay. So that is true. We do try to like answer those questions because there is a certain amount of there are I don't think it's controversial to say there are people in our societies who are interested in creating social hierarchies, social systems that comply or comport to biological realities, or I guess maybe more like biological roles, one would say. But again, those roles, and I feel like a broken record, any role is socially constructed. The roles are always constructed based on your need set. They're not in nature.
She is completely oblivious to the fact that there is an opposing ideology.
That's not true.
I'm
going to tell you right now, Gaines, I'm going to tell you right now, if he says he's a moderate leftist, he's lying to you. I'm just going to inform you that right now. He is just lying in that regard.
Society. And
certainly especially, I also want to say, certainly especially the leftist claim, I have not seen in the 2 videos that I've seen of this person, I have not seen one stripe of true, of a leftist stance or a leftist position on everything. What I have seen is an overwhelming deference to conservatism through the lens of classical liberalism. It's the same grift that Dave Rubin practices. It's the exact same thing. I'm just letting you know right now. They're just lying to you.
The result, as usual with regressives, is that she is delegitimizing the arguments of those who are trying to fight against this radical anti-liberal ideology. Although she doesn't go as far as Nicholas Matt, who accused Peterson of hate speech, she does imply that his position stems from bigotry.
I think we should not be obsessed by the question. Are we obsessed by the question whether there is a essential difference between people with light skin color and dark
thank
skin
God
color?
she actually
Are
says
we
obsessed.
with this is not politically legitimate to even ask this question, is it? So why is it legitimate to ask the question whether males and females are fundamentally different? And I think the only reason to ask this question, and this is why we are obsessed with it, is we want to say that there are natural differences because this justifies the different treatment of males and females in our society.
That's also kind of historical because there's always been a historical interest in what's the word I'm looking for, in explaining why women stay at home, men go out and are breadwinners. This stems from just kind of a historical lens and how the history of the defense of the patriarchy has generally been is rather universal across a lot of different cultures and societies. Systems work to reinforce and defend themselves. That's kind of how that's how power structures work. I don't really think this is unique to what we're looking at, but it is a what's the word I'm looking for? It is it is historically relevant to mention that people have been very interested in coming up with a reason why men just do better in society. It's not because it's rather convenient, because it's always like, it's not because women weren't allowed to vote, and women were also not allowed to open credit cards under their own names with their husbands, that they're not doing as well. It's because we're just better, and people are always looking for some vague scientific evidence to explain why they should be held at a higher regard to others. This is the weaponization of science and of the scientific method.
This debate took place in 2015, and
That's an
John could
old-ass
still
debate.
say that it is unthinkable to inquire about natural differences between races. Today, with the rise of race realism,
Oh no.
the unthinkable became very thinkable.
The rise of race realism has been around for probably centuries.
Some of you are probably already wondering
I'm
how
assuming
what
he's
I've
going to
delineated
mention
here
the bell
pertains to
curve,
race realism.
I would presume.
So let's now turn to that.
Oh no.
When we come to talk about race realism,
Gaines, I hope you're not a race realist, my friend. I really hope you're not a race realist. Also, no moderate leftist would be a race realist.
the first thing we need to point out is that it is not rigidly defined. It is rather a vague term, which can only be understood through the principle of family resemblance. It means different things to different people. At the most basic level, it is a reaction to regressive leftists who posit that the existing racial categories have no basis in biology.
It says race is a social construct, calls you a racist if you disagree. What? Huh? Race is a... what? Does this look like a leftist to you, Gaines? I'm sorry, but like, does this look like a leftist or somebody who constantly pretends to be one so that they can argue from a ostensibly left position? Like, I haven't heard one leftist value this entire time.
Using the Matt fallacy, they claim that race is a social construct, constructed by a
It
racist
is.
society to justify the oppression of one ethnicity by the other.
Yep.
According to the regressives, the fact that some ethnicities do
Well, yes, because ethnicities are not technically a social construct, because like ethnicities refer to I can't remember the word right now, but yeah, like race, the way that we define race, like when you check off like white, African American, or it's like, it's usually like white or Hispanic or Native American, whatever. When you check those off, those are social constructs. You're not checking off your ethnicity. You're checking off your race, which is different from ethnicity. Let me see if I can pull
better
up the
than others
definition.
prove
so
that
I'm
Western
not-
society suffers from systemic racism. In reaction, the race realists claim that race is real, meaning that people of different color, when looked at as a group, display differences on the biological level, to the point where you at least have to consider the possibility that
Wait, what is this? Because this chart is the left's default explanation for absolutely everything. Huh? What is this even?
these differences may account for their different social status. And the science on
Webster's
this
fine.
is on the side of the race
Oh my God,
realists.
this is...
But then, some race realists interpret race realism to mean that race is not only real, but is the most defining feature that we have. They assert that we should construct our identities around our race.
Okay, how do I... Oh my goodness. Okay. Black people. So we got white people here, right? So the question becomes, who exactly is white? Are Italians white? Because they weren't 100 years ago. Are the Irish white? Because they also weren't 100 years ago. But they are now. So the question needs to be asked. When we talk about ethnicity, we are talking even more specifically. If you're from the Caucasus, then you're Caucasian. If you are if you're from London, if you're from Essex, you're English, probably, right? If you're from Scotland, you're all of these. There's all these ethnicities to describe the specific regions in which people are from. Whereas, if you are black, are you Nigerian? Are you American? Are you Egyptian? are you like where the fuck like what is black referred to? Black only refers to a certain threshold, which is arbitrarily decided, by the way, of non-white skin. That's just what it is. The same way white is socially constructed and is arbitrarily decided to be non-black skin, in the sense of you have swarthy Mediterranean what fucking Italians, who are rather brown, rather tan, but still are considered to be white. Meanwhile, you also have black people who are rather light skinned, maybe live in America, in like maybe the northern states in America, and are also the same shade of color in terms of melanin distribution. Then we get into like, oh, but then like, you know, if they have like curly or not curly hair, and then it's like, well, Jewish people have curly hair. Are they suddenly black now? Which characteristics are what? This is why like race doesn't fucking mean anything. It's just whatever it is, arbitrarily assigned and arbitrarily determined. Same with like Asian people. You have like yellow on here. Are Asian people fucking yellow? Do they look like the Simpsons? No. But they have what? Slightly more of like a yellow hue to their like either tan or pale skin. But it's like, all right, like if they have the same melanin count and we're looking at two people, like one of Asian descent and one of white descent, and they both have basically like essentially the same looking skin, why is one white and the other one isn't? Like, these are all arbitrary, these are all made up, they're all just ways of categorizing people that we made up. And then race realists came along and said, what if we try to study and figure out ways to categorize people based on our already arbitrarily defined lines? That is the whole science behind fucking race realism. Like,
because our biology is somehow more real than anything else.
The differences between like a black and a white person are rather small, actually, when people look into it. There's not really that much difference. There's like group differences, but group differences doesn't really tell you the same thing. Like even black people in Africa have less in common with black people in America than black people in America do with American white boys. Like,
this is a weird argument, since culture is obviously more important than biology in determining one's identity. Actually, I see no reason why we should regard race as identity at all. Ethnicities are identities, since every ethnic group has its own beliefs, its own customs, its own shared history, etc. And since humans tend to procreate within their own ethnic group, we will usually find that an ethnicity also has typical biological traits. But what makes the ethnicity and
Why does he always do this? Again, you're going back and assigning biological traits that you've already predetermined fit within this category of like whatever ethnic group. Like you've already self-selected those.
An identity is not these biological distinctions, it's the shared cultural heritage. And
culture also, by the way, is not natural.
Statement, race is real,
we create culture
and argue for an essentialist view of race. They are simply wrong. Race is real only if you view it through the principle of family resemblance. This demonstrates one of the dangers of the math fallacy. By employing it to race and attempting to silence the opponents, the regressives of...
Wait, but why would you apply it to race? What? Okay.
Aided in the rise of the race realists.
The made
Many people are drawn to the race realist side because of the truth
in and of itself is a straw man.
But once they are on that side, they might
gotcha.
be lured into adopting actual racist positions. All right.
You know, ironically, actually, okay. So ironically, I actually want to vaguely agree with him. There is a certain amount. There is a certain stripe of leftists who does tend to believe that who does buy into a lot of the kind of the racial categorization of people. There is that person. Mostly they seem to be more concerned with I think the way that we've defined race and enshrined it in our systems. So obviously when the when like the 3/5 compromise was written, right? Did it say African people? Did it say did it say Nigerians? Did it say people from any African countries, right? Let me see if I can find the actual language. 3/5 compromise. Cool. Can I get the plain text, por favor? Nope. I just want the how do I just want the plain text. God damn it. Oh my god. 3/5 compromise. Is this gonna be the plain text? I just want the plain text. I just want the plain text. That's all I want. I just want the plain text. 3/5 compromise, decimation, date, history. Okay, maybe this is it. Maybe this will give me what I'm looking for. God damn it, Virginia. Largest state plan provided by. God damn it, Virginia. No, go away. Nope. Go away. Away with you. I just want the. Why is that hard to find? Is there a reason why that's hard to find? Like, I don't want the Wikipedia article on it. I want like the actual like what his compromise was. Is there a way over the inclusion of slaves? Yeah. No, this isn't. I know what it says, but I want to know the language because I can almost guarantee they did not use specific language. They used race language, which again is arbitrary. The lines there are arbitrarily drawn. Debate, compromise, It wasn't about like heritage to Africa or some nonsense. It was whatever one could describe as black, which again, you tell me where a black person turns, like where black skin turns into white skin. Oh, a transcript. There we go. Okay, Article 1, Article 2. Wait, shit. I'm stupid because I didn't want that. Okay, bring it back. Okay. No, bring it back. I fucked it up again. Okay. No, I want this. Let's see. What actual thing is it? Text. Oh, wait, am I fucking dumb? I'm just dumb. I'm just stupid as fuck. Representatives in the direct taxes shall be appropriated among the several states which may be included within the union according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding the whole number of persons, including those bound to service in the terms of excluding Indians, which also Indians isn't even lovely. That's not even actually part of it. Is a part of 1, 2, and 3. Okay, Articles 1, 2, and 3. Okay. All legislative powers are saying 2. House Representatives. Oh dear. Oh, this is like sections. What if I type in black? Will I get it if I type in black what I'm looking for? Control F. BLACK? Nope. God damn it. Okay. Stop. I want to know what language they use to describe. Did they just describe them as slaves? I guess that makes sense. To define the punishment of piracy, okay, let's assume that they just used the word slave then. They did not specifically, which granted, technically, if we want to get technical about it, slavery in the United States was not like, they didn't write in like, only black people can be slaves. It just like happened to be that way. Okay, let's stop looking for this because now I'm what's the word? Now I'm hyper focusing. Anyway, continue.
It has thus been defined and explicated. Feel free to start using the term. I think you will find it very useful in debunking regressive claims.
I don't think it will, mainly because nobody's gonna know what the fuck you're talking about, and also that much explanation. I want to go back to that though. Where's his thingy? Yeah, create a straw man pretending that this is, well, yeah, okay. And that in liberal society, yeah. People rigidly define an essentials. Yeah. So unfortunately the problem is if he had put in a liberal society, he would kind of be accurate in here. Because a liberal society can certainly have rigidly defined essentialist roles. That, if they were written that way by people, then they can, but not necessarily. That's not like again, that's not really. It's not a necessity that all liberal society is like this. It's just liberal societies can fall victim to these sorts of things. Site specific. Yeah, if you have science, then that's fine. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to look at this again. Cite scientific research to show that when we look into it. Okay. Well, that was a video that I will say was about as good as the last one I watched. I'm gonna watch these though. I want to see these debates. I want to see these debates. These are probably watch these while playing video games tonight after I'm done editing. Really love. Let's see. I have to admit I struggle with these issues. I mean, yeah, the dude's like kind of incomprehensible to a degree. Fantastic video. I hope you go far. I never really bought the gender sex as a social construct thing. Well, no, the argument is that gender is okay. I mean, sex. Okay. So this is the question I always have to ask. That I think also like it begs to be asked, which is why does it matter? Like, to a degree, I guess I have to ask, if we learn if we find out that there's such thing as a woman, a female's brain, a male's brain, if we find out that whatever, any of these things, if any of the suppositions that this person is like forwarding, we still have to answer the question of how do we ameliorate people's rights? How do we make sure that people's rights aren't being infringed upon just because of these random these kind of random traits or whatever? That's also kind of the question that needs to be asked. Non-essentialist categories is what computer science is called clusters. Clusters emerge. People aren't computers, but okay. But he's not a doctor. He has a certificate in historical medicine. Got one thing in the Matt file saying that I think is most important that you didn't get. Matt immediately named himself the authority in the debate by calling himself a scientist. That doesn't make you okay. I mean, he is a scientist, so. Not a scientist. Well, it depends on what your definition is also. Yeah. Scribe. The race part, because while it's true that you can create the boundaries which contain different races by using the principles of family resemblance, those are boundaries fall is dependent on the context. Yeah. With the context of one medical application over another, what gets defined as race will vary based on what genes are selected to create those boundaries. Yeah, okay. By contrast with sex, it is possible to create a clear boundary between male and female in terms of the SRY, I'm assuming SRY gene being switched at weeks 6 through 8 of gestation. Everyone within the male family group has had this event happen to them, and everyone within the female family group has not. However, no such feature exists to demonstrate or to demarcate between the races, where the boundary is okay. Looks like he responded to this. This is what I meant when I said that the race shouldn't be made into an identity. Okay. However, we unfortunately live in a world in which race is already an identity. Okay. There are already pre-existing categories of race in our culture, true. Setting boundaries, true. And when you examine these categories, you will find biological differences. But I believe we should aspire to erase existing categories of race, but okay. Limitism, like that Matt is added again. Regarding to biological sex, my approach is somewhat different. I take race to be a historical constructed folk taxonomy, having both. Okay, now you're talking about how we deconstruct. Oh my god. Yeah, okay. Yeah, there are already pre-existing categories of race in our culture, which again are okay. And when we examine these categories, but Okay. 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 I think I understand how I can kind of explain what I mean when I'm like, okay, what are we like? Okay. I think I can understand what I mean. What I feel like is happening is we have, I'm only going to do men for this one. We have this box here, right? We have this box, right? This is the man box. This makes up, this is like this, and then there's, I don't know. We'll do, no, wait, I know. We'll do, we'll do aggression and, I don't know. I don't know, fucking being super tall or something, right? Okay, so we have being tall, being angry, having a dick, right? But like, so, and I feel like this is kind of my thing. Okay, let me put some more on here. What are some other man traits? What are some man traits? Trying to think. What's like a beard? Okay, let's see. Can we do a beard? Like a oh boy. Okay, oh boy. Okay, no, that's not bad. Oh no, wait. Okay, that's, what if I do like that? God, I'm so fucking bad at drawing. Okay, we got a beard. Okay, right, we got a beard. What's another manly one? Oh, we'll do a man musk. Okay, we got like this, right? And then fuck, I don't know. One more. Fuck. Man trait. What's like a traditional man trait? Fuck. Okay. What did I say earlier that right wingers always say, or the one that they always right, rationale over emotion. Okay, those are like, or we'll just do being rational, right? We'll just do being rational, shittily drawn. Okay, so I feel like the thing that the issue I have with this response right here. Okay, so let's read this. There are already pre-existing categories of race in our country setting boundaries, the same way there are for men, right? We already have our box with what we think of as men, right? And when we examine these categories, meaning when you examine inside of this box, right, you will find biological differences. But, and here's the thing, I feel like the way he's looking at this is he's going, okay, so, because that's man, and then we got, we'll do like this, and then like this maybe? Oh, no, wait, how do you fucking draw like a double helix? Okay, there, that, and then, oh god. Okay, we got this one. This one's male, right? All right. Oh my god, what the fuck was that? Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I feel like these two things, right? Like these are like vaguely, we'll do this. They're like mostly connected, but not necessarily, right? There's just these are the gender roles that we assume people belong to, and these are kind of the characteristics, right? And I feel like we're looking at a case where he's thinking like, okay, I look at this category and I see this dick. That means, oh, nope, not that far. Stop it. I see this. That's that's one. I see, being more hairy. That's certainly one. Being tall. Okay, that's another one. I cut off the end of that. Being angry. And I made a little face. That's one. And and the thought process is like, oh, there's all of these traits that, if we track back, go into that. But, and here's the problem. None of these, there's really only, and even then, like when we talk about like men, right? Is if we have if we have another double helix. What the fuck was that? Oh, whoops, I had the wrong tool. If we have another double helix, but this one is for fuck me. Fucking ugh. Oh my god, that's awful. Okay. Female. Lovely, love it. Right? Okay, so we have this one, right? The idea would be that these can't be like they can't be mutually they can't be exclusive to their side, right? Even though like what? Having a beard? Oh shit. No, not this. This, if there are women, they don't shave, they could probably grow a beard. That's a thing. It's not, most women are taught not to do so, but like that is a thing that can happen. We already know that. Oh god. Oh, I forgot the E on E female. Fuck. Why did nobody tell me? Oh wait, did I delete it? There we go. There's the E. Okay. There's that. Being a stinky person, that women can be stinky. There are also, and I'm sure you've met them, massive bitches who are way less emotional and more rational and more assholes about it. That's like a thing women can be. There are also tall women. Even though men generally tend to be tall, there are also aggressive women. Maybe they play sports. Like, and even then, even this one, so we got penis, right? And you're thinking like, oh, well, that can't really be over here, which is absolutely true, right? It seems like, at least from my understanding, that like, having the dong here is not going to put you into like female, right? But even then, if you just had this one, like all the rest of these can also be attributed to female, meaning that like his comment where he's like, oh, when we examine these categories, you will find biological differences. Yeah, because there's a million different differences, but in no way are these exclusive to these groups. In no way are they exclusive. Like maybe even a few of them aren't even really exclusive. And even then, like I'm not 100% sure on the penis one, but still, like even that one isn't like necessarily exclusive. But either way, okay, I'm done trying to understand this. Shitty paint drawing aside, I kind of want to just look at it a little, right? And I was wrong. Thank you. Let's see, what is this? The author was made the interesting Freudian slip. Mark Screen made many other groups of games, but a narrator said many other groups of names. Interesting. Hey, you forgot the water lake, so don't believe that. Deliberately, as a Matt seems to. Most scientists do not receive training in philosophy. Yeah, there's also, also, isn't a lot of what that is true. I didn't even really think about that. He's kind of comparing like hard sciences to philosophy, where, anyway, okay. Anyway, okay, that's it. I'm done with this. Okay, we're done. Wait. Okay, yeah, we're good. Okay. I still need to know, Gaines, why so many people are enthralled by this kind of content on the right wing. I'm just curious. What's the like big draw here? But anyway, okay. Well, that was fun. Okay. What's today? Oh my god, today's only Monday. Okay, so tomorrow it's Tuesday, 7 o'clock. Again, there will be no Thursday show this week. John Wick 4 comes out. So yeah, tomorrow, 7 o'clock. I'll see you guys then. I gotta run so my girlfriend go sleep. So yeah, see you all then. Everyone have a lovely night.